Where is it? Okay, going. There you go. Have to wait for that delay. Copy, share link. Because I hate it'll attack all at once, and so.
Yes, it does.
So hopefully, okay, we have Volpez in the.
You know, again, like I was saying before we went live, isn't it great that we were originally going to cover a debate, and then a bunch of Haitians came out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, Trump got shot at again.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden's putting on the MAGA hat. We're trying to escalate. Britain's really trying to cajole Biden into one more dance with Ivan.
Oh man, those edits of Biden and Trump are insane. Like it's all like, which is kind of an indictment on the right wing because it's like all of Biden's sins are forgiven, but it is, I don't know, it is just, it's funny meme humor where it's like
instead of the prodigal son, it's just like the prodigal like dementia patient.
Yeah.
Like everywhere at the end of time, but except, you know, all of a sudden the heartaches stop and he remembers one more moment. Oh, right. My vice president's not, you know, it's corn pop and I gotta don the red hat.
Oh my God. All those meme edits of them two is playing golf. Very funny.
But, well, it's not like they haven't known each other for decades.
Did Trump knew the Bidens?
I mean, I'm sure indirectly. It's not like Trump hasn't been aware of Democrat politics for most of his business career working in New York.
Yeah.
I know he's technically the senator from Delaware and all that jazz, or whatever he used to be. But still, like, it's not like you're not familiar with the vice president of the United States, now president, a popular senator on a lot of issues from crime to foreign policy. It's not like he wouldn't know.
Yeah, true.
But still, I mean... I think I'm tired of the AI slop for it though. Like, look at how happy they are, and I'm like, no, like I don't need to have this like it's like a Splenda, you know. I don't need this artificial sweetener to change my image that I have of Joe Biden. I really don't want that. The cat memes are fine. That's okay. We can do that. That's cool. But no, the Joe Biden
my favorite
apologia needs to stop.
My favorite one was from Schwab, where it was Trump as Dumbledore, and he's like, "They're eating the house elves. They're eating the owls. they ate half of Hufflepuff." Or the best was that Catler Twitter account. This was like a week ago, where he's like, "What do you think's gonna happen when they run out of cats and dogs to eat?"
So true.
Oh my God, Okay, we took a week off. We were saying this. You were sick, and we were going to cover this debate, but then all this stuff happened. It's like near the election, it's like time just warp speeds. There really is like a sort of liminality to it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, Trump, a deranged Nophoid, Ukraino shill, almost tried to murk Trump. What else happened?
Yeah, so Zelensky attempted to kill the president of the United States.
Yeah.
We had the Haitian thing, which is not just in Springfield, but we have it confirmed. It's in dozens of other towns in Ohio. Nate Hochman and some others, they went to a small town in Pennsylvania of like, what was it, 5,000
people.
5,000 majority, like 94% white town. And then they just dropped 1,000 Haitians there. So more deliberate biological warfare against white America. And then on top of that, there was... What else has been going on?
I have one of my
all of the
Vinman getting ratioed hardcore.
Well, the Rosenbergs of today.
Hey, they are yes.
They really are. They really are. They're traitors.
Total traitors. And this is what I wanted to call attention to. Vinman. So Jack Posobiec, I believe, is the one that broke the story.
A Polish Catholic going after a Russian-Ukrainian. It's a tale as old as time. We truly do import the geopolitical ethno-sectarian conflicts from all over the world. We bring them straight to America, baby.
It's incredible. Well, I'll bring up the core report tabs on the screen share. But so apparently Vinman, he was the one that was both lobbying for Ukraine and profiting because he had major shares in a lot of these defense companies that had lucrative contracts in Ukraine or to supply the Ukrainians. This was the Scufia, as they say in Italian, when Trump was still in office. This was the infamous Gary Kasparov tweet or thread, the deranged schizo thread, where he said that Trump was facilitating a G-word-eyed against the Ukrainians because he held off on weapon shipments. But then Trump actually did end up supplying them with weapons. Vinman had a huge hand in it. And then Vinman like totally lied through his teeth and embellished stuff to Congress. I believe it was a congressional hearing where he basically twisted Trump's words to say that he was like targeting the Bidens, or he was targeting Ukraine, or he was abandoning Ukraine. And this guy is like deranged, and his wife is equally deranged, who also had other nefarious dealings. And he's
running for Congress.
And he's running for, oh my God.
And he's running for Congress.
Yeah, and I didn't, and so Vinman, so Posobiec broke this, and Vinman has been going on this like total tirade because of the Lauren Chen stuff, which is honestly a nothing burger. And so breaking, Alexander Vinman played a massive outsized role in the formation of this war, helped start the war. Now he profits from it. And this is a legitimate news from Human Events, which I believe is Posobiec's thing.
Yeah.
And then let me see. There's a bunch of other ones too, because I believe, okay, so what the reason that people were sparked up interest in Vinman again is because his disgusting wife tweeted this joke about that she then deleted about when Trump was nearly assassinated by someone who wouldn't be out of the stretch of possibilities to have contacts with Vinman, because as we know, Vinman is also very important to the propaganda arm of the online pro-Ukrainian lobby. So it wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination that this guy, what's his name, Ruth, raised the Ruth, probably has some ties to a lot of these, him and who was the congressman that had the NAFO dog?
Adam Kissinger.
Yeah, Kissinger, the crying Kissinger. Remember, crying Kissinger. So she had this tweet mocking the Trump assassination attempt, and she then subsequently deleted it because I think like her Democrat inner party probably forced her to do it. Yeah. And so you had all these people descending on this information about Vinman and his wife. And then another thing that speaking about foreign lobbying, before we get to the intro, I didn't know this, but apparently Tim Walz has had a decades-long suspicious relationship with the CCP. And so now we can call him Tiananmen Tim. And Minnesota's had a bunch of nefarious financial ties to China. So, if Trump gets in, he should basically just investigate all these people. So, yeah, I didn't know that about Tim Walz. Aristophanes was saying this in the group chat, that Tim Walz has had all these, like, weird dealings with China, and he's basically been selling off a lot of, industrial capacity to China from Minnesota. So, it's just, and then the thing about his deranged wife going up there and giving that speech, very like Joe Biden-esque. Like, what's wrong with these people? Is Kamala's husband is he deranged too, or no?
I think Doug Imhoff might be the most sane one out of all the characters that you just listed.
Yeah, because think of it: Hillary Clinton, evil, insane. Joe Biden, insane. What's Tim Walz's wife? What's her name?
I have no idea what her wife's,
I don't even know her
wife's name is, but I mean, she's got those crazy.
I've noticed,
eyes. She's got the Senpaku eyes, but also at the same time, right? You had pointed this out about the Con Inc. conservative smirk. This convergent evolution. Notice that they all have the same thing for their wives. They all have this like crazy level of those those eyes. They all have the crazy eyes. Like,
what does David French's wife look like?
David French has a wife?
I think he does.
Well,
Nancy French.
Nancy French. Does she have the crazy eyes? Put her up.
She kind of does. I mean, okay, she looks just normal. I mean, she kind of, yeah. But we all know. Let's see, Rod. Oh, I can't. I was
You
gonna
imagine
say
look up Rod.
Dreyer.
No.
Like which one? Okay, no, who? Okay, Andrew Sullivan husband. Who? Okay, I picked. Some people thought that I was using multiple photos. No, I had in that tweet. I had David French, Andrew Sullivan, Rick Wilson from the Lumpkin Project, and who was the? Oh yeah, Max Boot. Max Boot. His wife, I believe, is also another like. Oh yeah, he married an Asian woman who's like some venture capitalist. He married some. She kind of looks like Michelle Malkin. Mai Terry was indicted and arrested for allegedly acting as an unregistered foreign agent for the South Korean government. Oh man!
I wonder, that makes me wonder if eventually doesn't Richard Hanania have a thing for Asian ladies?
He's married to an Asian woman, I believe.
I wonder if she'll get arrested for potential lobbying for a foreign government. I'm just waiting for it. We're waiting for it, Richard. Waiting for your wife to get arrested.
Married a Korean woman and constantly tweets about being attracted to white women. From Centrist Madness.
Many such cases.
Yeah, many such cases. There's no photos of his wife, though. There's no. Oh my God, there was this.
She goes to a different country, guys. She's real. She's totally real.
Yeah. There are some photos where he kind of looks normal, but then there's like he needs to invest in a better webcam because every time he does an interview with somebody online, it looks terrible. Like that's. I shouldn't talk. Yeah, Hanania. Yeah, like it's just the one where people. I remember the tweet. I think it was Howling Mutant. That one photo he does look kind of normal. Where Howling Mutant.
The one photo.
Yeah, he looks like a lesbian. And Howling Mutant's like, I'm looking at my adopted nephew after my sister and her husband died in a car accident, and I'm so proud as a lesbian aunt that he's graduating. It was something like that. I'm looking on his graduation after my sister and my brother-in-law were killed in the car accident. I'm raising my sister's son.
It's
kind of like Dick Cheney's daughter, which you were talking about.
Well, one of them's a terrible congresswoman who's no longer in Congress, and the other one
Liz Cheney
is a lesbian.
Dick Cheney daughters. Because Liz Cheney looks ghastly. Actually, the lesbian one looks more normal than Liz Cheney. That's whoa.
Well, she's not, while she may be living in sin, she's not necessarily corrupting herself, like working
like
in
Liz
Washington.
Cheney. Yeah.
It's like the Victoria Nuland photo from, from like her time in the Clinton administration from like 30 plus years ago where she looks human. And then you're like, what happened? And then you're like, oh yeah.
Evil.
You
know what's crazy is that Victoria Nuland and Robert Kagan, do they have kids? They don't have kids.
I don't know. Isn't Robert Kagan one of the founders for the Center of the American Century?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, no, sorry. They don't have they have two children. Okay, so she is somewhat normal. But it's very funny how Rachel Vinman and Alexander Vinman, they do not have children.
Well, he reminds me a lot of like Tim Waltz, where it's just like, you probably can't have children.
Yeah.
And so be it.
Yeah. Tim Waltz's wife looks like they don't actually, they haven't
done the deed
consummated their marriage. Or in a while, yeah.
Well, they have children, even though it wasn't through IVF, it was the turkey baster method.
Isn't his son's got some like can't recognize speech cues or something, but isn't their like daughter like some weirdo Black Lives Matter commie or something?
Like, I mean, I haven't done enough research, so I'm not going to say. But I wouldn't be surprised.
I was listening to a particular woman's podcast where the two girls were breaking down how Tim Waltz's wife when
Is this your way of saying you were listening to Red Scare?
Yes, I was listening to Red Scare where I was driving to my girlfriend.
I'm glad that at least you can be honest, Gio. It's okay. It's a safe. It's your own show. It's a safe spot.
No, I was listening to Red Scare, and they were talking about how Tim Waltz's wife during the BLM riots when they were burning down Minneapolis. It's Minneapolis, right? I'm not getting confused with Annapolis, or that's the capital of Minnesota, right?
Yes.
Yeah. When Minneapolis was burning, she had this bit where she was opening the windows in the house, in the state house, to smell the air, that she wanted to remember this moment.
Oh, really insane cars burning and stuff like that.
Yeah, really insane stuff like that. It's literally Nero playing the lyre while Rome burns. Yeah, Annapolis is in Maryland.
Yes, and that's where the Naval Academy is.
I remember, you know how I know that? Because there's this music video from Dying Fetus where it starts off with their roadie. He's like, "I'm Gabe from Annapolis, Maryland, and you're listening to Dying Fetus." And they were filming in a junkyard. I believe the song was called "Redact Your Mother, Grape Your Dog." You know that song, Prude?
No, Gio.
No, it's actually a good song. They were doing it as a spoof of what the mainstream thinks metal is, right? And it's very funny where they talk about Madonna and Pearl Jam. And I saw Dying Fetus, I believe, twice. And Dying Fetus, they actually have a very pro-life song called From Womb to Waist. So I think Dying Fetus might be secret Trump supporters. You never know.
I mean, that would be interesting. I guess I'm going to have to go listen to some music from a band called Dying Fetus. Things I would never thought I would say in my lifetime, but here we are.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's a great song. My favorite album, I think, would be Destroy the Opposition. That's a great song. They have a lot of political lyrics too. They're kind of I guess you could call them sort of anti-imperialist libertarians. It was very popular back in the 2000s, back during the Iraq War.
Yeah, that was a very popular position.
Yeah, that's what
I held it. I know.
yeah.
I had that phase.
Worse, the name's very off-putting, worse than Skinny Puppy. Well, that's true, ZSP. You know what's funny is that Skinny Puppy was actually, if you remember, they were actually in Doom Generation, which was the second film in the Teen Apocalypse trilogy. They were the neo-Austrian painter group in that I believe they redacted James Duval. That was the second one, yeah.
That was the one where the boyfriend was left to get basically castrated or whatever.
Yes, okay. by Skinny Puppy, yeah.
Yeah, where James Duval has just emasculated the entire freaking movie.
Yeah. Skinny Puppy's great though. They were a great industrial band. Got that, total mid to late 90s vibe. Because there was this weird intersection between I would say from the mid 90s to the early 2000s where you had this weird crossover between industrial and new metal, and you have bands like Orgy and KMFDM, which as we all know, KMFDM, why they're popular, right? You know why they're popular?
Enlighten the audience, and by the
because
audience,
they were Eric Harris's favorite band.
Ah, okay. Well, there you go.
That's why, they got more publicity from Columbine than oh my god! Can you imagine that? The reason your band is popular is because of Columbine. I should say that though, because they're a pretty great band. It's just that it's very unfortunate that they reached a level of popularity because of Eric Harris. So, yeah, it is. Anyways, this is Digital Archipelago 101, and I still do not see any super chats. Oh, actually, I see actually on Entropy. So the Entropy link is in the pinned comment. It's also down below. Of course, my Patreon and Prude Subscribe Star is linked in the description. And we were going to cover the debate, the mass debate, Speaking of mass debate, you know who did cover the mass debate live?
Who? Besides the OGC.
Yeah, OGC. Patrick Casey was sick. I think Fuentes covered it. Chris Chan,
yes,
Kim
Chris
herself,
Chan covered it, and the OGC got more viewers on their when they were live than Chris Chan did. So that's a feather in our cap. We're happy about that one.
I wonder what. I have to go look at that stream. I guess I should browse it after.
Did you see the lovely?
No, I mean the Chris Chan one. I saw.
Yeah,
the
I know, but did you see his lovely hand-drawn Kamala Harris 2024 poster?
He made Kamala white. He made Kamala white. Let me see if I can find this.
Please put that on air so we can traumatize the audience one more time.
Okay, Chris Chan, Kamala drawing. Oh my God, where is it? Where? Chris? Oh, this is iFunny. iFunny. Okay. Let's see. Screen share. Where is it? Present. Share screen. I had this serious thing because I saw this terrible video of this kid getting punched. But let me just where is it? Is it here? Yeah, here it is. Okay. Here we go.
In all its glory.
And you know what's crazy is that he made her look white, but he basically just drew a younger version of Barb. And people were saying in the window, you can see Barb in the window. People were saying this, the original tweet, that Barb was in the window over here. And so if you're just tuning in, that's a huge jump scare. So I apologize for that one, folks. But anyways, yeah, episode 101.
We never thought we'd see the day.
Well, you figure like Kamala's mommy, right? So of course he's going to draw his ultimate maternal figure that is the object of his chthonic influence. It's very Poglian in a way. I was actually listening to Gabe and ARX Han talk about Camille Paglia, speaking of Red Scare, and
we have Red Scare at home, and it's ARX Han and Gabe.
We have that. Yeah, we have Red Scare at home. Oh my God, that's funny. But that very is like Camille Paglia should write an essay on Chris Chan. That would be something. Because she's written about pop culture, and of course, there's that famous book, Warhol Chris Chan, that I highly recommend. I actually quite enjoy that book. But of course, the guy that wrote it, he never wants to do another interview about Chris Chan ever again. Me and Lev tried to get him back in the day, and he flatly refused, unfortunately.
Well, it doesn't stop one from reading the book. I mean, I guess I'm going to have to go look this up myself.
It's a great book. It's got a lot of stuff about art history as well.
Maybe that'll be something that I do in the future because
we can review it.
Well, I'm doing a book show alongside the sort of meme review I do, and then with you, and then so there are two book things that I'm doing. There is, now that I finally got some more research done under my belt, the Stalin's War series is going to come back, and we're going to finish that book proper. And then this Friday, I'll be live with Dimes to do a review, discussion, breakdown of Thomas Moynihan's Spinal Catastrophism. And that's going to be a show called Do You Even Read? And we're going to just do what we usually do, where we cover books. If you want to know what other books that Dimes and I have covered, we have over 6 hours of audio on the book What Went Wrong? The Creation of the Collapse of the Black Jewish Alliance. That is on my Odyssey channel. So you can go look that up if you're interested. But anyways, we should review that, Gio, or you should come on for that. That would be fun.
Warhol Chris Chan is a big book. So we would have to break it down. And didn't McMeekin come out with a
Yes, he came up with a new book about the history of communism, and I have not touched it. I've ordered it. I haven't read it. I'm curious how he's going to address certain issues.
Yeah.
But if there's one, I like McMeekin and his other work. He's got some interesting positions on the causes of World War One, but I like him as an academic. He's one of the few good ones, so I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, but anyways, so I guess to get it over with, I mean, it sort of died down a bit, the Haitian cat thing, and people were debating. There was this, I if you go to my Twitter, I wrote a longer post on it, but there was this horrendous tweet by David Frum about how Vance is spreading obvious lies, but it's very true that Trump cited an erection and to the Russia, he still believes in Russiagate, and there was this other irony leftist that tweeted something about that this isn't like postmodernism, but this is JD Vance conveying a mystical truth about the Haitians eating cats. And I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? That is kind of true, because we do live in this weird age of theopolitics or political metaphysics that even if there isn't and JD Vance wasn't exactly saying that, by the way. He wasn't saying like it didn't happen. He was just saying that some of the reports are unverified. And of course, leftards, they like took this and ran with it, and it just became this whole thing. But I think like we're sort of past as a the world as a whole is sort of past this like weird debate that was going on even before Trump with the whole like stupid Stephen Colbert truthiness thing. Do you remember that? Like they should have like the ancient Giga Chat. I should tweet that truthiness. But like, people talking about post-truth, and to me, these debates always smacked as dishonest because it wasn't a new revelation. It's like it's always been that way when it comes to our politicized reality.
Yeah.
And so when people talk about post-truth or truthiness or whatever, people don't use that word anymore. It just
no.
shows,
well, I mean, when you talk about post-truth, what a lot of people are saying is that it's talking about the death of the old liberal style of objective consensus that we can say, oh, well, here's what the data says, and we can kind of agree, even if there are facts in that data that are uncomfortable to talk about. But now we can't, because now you're at a point where even if the facts are right in your face, there could be literally a Haitian eating your baby, and you would say, well, that's actually a good thing, despite the fact that it isn't on any objective level. But we've thrown out the liberal consensus because there's not a single unified polity anymore. We have effectively bifurcated. And so we live in a, quote, post-truth world because we inherently inhabit different metaphysical and epistemic perspectives. Like, that's just the plain fact of the matter.
Yeah. There was something that Baudrillard said in, he wrote this book right after 9/11 called The Spirit of Terrorism, or that was a chapter in it, but I believe it was called, the book was called The Spirit of Terrorism. He said that the 1990s to the early 2000s before the towers fell was a weird pause on history, or what did he call it? He said it was like the arcade of history. I'm looking for the actual quote in the PDF. But he says that about, and it talks about the nature of truth as well, how the famous quote, of course, is that terrorism is an act of restoring an irreducible singularity to the heart of a system of generalized exchange, all the singularity. And so he's talking about symbolic exchange and how those events cut through the nature of a given political or socioeconomic arrangement. All these singularities, species, individuals, and cultures that have paid with their deaths for the installation of a global circulation governed by a single power are taking their revenge today through this terroristic situational transfer. Then he talks about terrorism like a virus is everywhere is a global profusion of terror, which accompanies any system of domination as though it were a shadow, ready to activate itself anywhere like a double agent. We can no longer draw a demarcation around it. It's the very heart of this culture which combats it in the visible fracture and the hatred that pits the exploited and the underdeveloped globally against the Western world secretly connects within the fracture internal to its dominant system. The system faced down invisible antagonism. Then he then talks about like the end of history system fundamentally being disrupted. But I'm trying to look at the exact quote. It's a short book. I highly recommend reading it. Oh yeah, here we go. In the traditional universe, there was still a balance between good and evil in accordance with the dialectical relation which maintained the tension and equilibrium of the moral universe. Come what may, not unlike the way the confrontation of two powers in the Cold War maintained this balance of terror. There was then no supremacy of one over the other. As soon as there was a total extrapolation of good, so the extra production of good, hegemony of the positive over any form of negativity, exclusion of death and of any potential adverse force, triumph of the values of good all along the lines, that balance was upset. From this point of view, the equilibrium was gone, and it was through evil, and it was as though evil regained an invisible autonomy, henceforth developed exponentially. Relatively speaking, this more or less is what happened in the political order with the eclipse of communism and the global triumph of liberal power. It was at this point that a ghostly enemy emerged, infiltrating itself throughout the whole planet, slipping in everywhere like a virus, welling up with the interseas of power, Islam. But Islam was merely the moving front along which the antagonism crystallized. The antagonism is everywhere in every one of us. So is terror against terror, but asymmetrical terror, and is the asymmetry which leaves global omnipotence entirely disarmed. I'm trying to see where he talks about the 1990s. But anyways, the point being is that when you see a lot of language around current politics, especially around Trump, and especially around the global right, there was this ridiculous, absolutely deranged irony leftist who's like some Hispanic lawyer or whatever. He said, like, he was quoting Bukele, who was talking about the Haitian thing. He's like, there's this global right-wing force whose sole mission and connection is just to be mean to marginalized groups. And it's like, yeah, like forgot to insert the Giga Chat image. But the point being is that the way that people talk about this is that there is sort of like a disruption to the order, and the exact same thing you could talk about with in regards to the Islamic terror that happened with 9/11 and the GWAD, the Global War on Terror, is the same language that people use for any sort of like dissident thought nowadays. It's the same sort of like you're everywhere, and in fact, this rise of terror is in you as well. And it's all over the place, and it's, you have to murder the fascist within. That's essentially the same language, but it comes out in this like weird way. And so and so you see a lot of this language, and to lead into what we're going to talk about with Kamala, that was like the linchpin of the debate, and that's the linchpin really of the Democrat strategy as a whole, which is that, we're going to return to normal. We're not going back.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is we're not going back. And I mean, again, this is, I'm sure that Baudrillard probably might take some issue with this, given his political leanings. But I mean, when the no turning back is we are not going back to any kind of revision, we are not going to relitigate, we are not going back to 1950. It is the post-war consensus, the global browning of America, like everything that you would associate with turbo progressivism is there at the forefront, and that's how it's going to be. Because to say that we're going to go back, or that we're going to do some Pat Buchanan levels of historical revisionism, a la Daryl Cooper's appearance on Tucker Carlson, like, that's verboten, and we can't go back to that, because to open these things up is to, again, it's a form of terrorism, where you're ideologically proposing that actually, no, the world that you know is wrong, it is evil, it is worth actually investigating on a critical lens, and so that's what we're going to do. And when you do that, you are attacking someone's worldview, and you're attacking the way in which someone perceives the world and their existence. And when that happens, of course, that's obviously posed as an existential threat. Because if there's no consensus, and you can manufacture, not just consent, but also just sort of these myth-making properties that people can buy into, it's really easy to do that. And then on top of the fact that with immigration, you've got people who are just fundamentally stupid. I mean, like the Haitian thing alone, right? We're talking about a country with an average IQ of like 67, where the popular cultural food stay, and this is something that even Bukele jokingly tweeted about. He says that like the dirt cookies will be sold in a fucking like CVS or some kind of Kroger as like in the ethnic food section. And he's probably right. But on top of that, like, again, consider what constitutes sort of the Americanization. It is the premise in which there is sort of this global MCU sloppa universe in which the Anglo-American traditions of old, that are, you know, denigrated and hated. And there are still places in America where they exist. And so obviously predominantly like mega regions like the South or other parts of New England. Like, they do exist. They're not gone. And don't misconstrue this as me shitting on America. As someone who deeply loves his nation, I'm not going to assume that, you know, the properties of, you know, the current regime is what I associate with the United States. But when you have countries that are, when you have like media properties where it's like Bob loves Abishola, and it's about like some Midwestern white guy that's kind of chubby dating some like African Nigerian immigrant, or that you've got recently in the last 5 years 2 biopics about products, like literally like the Flaming Hot Cheetos movie, and then they had a whole movie with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
We have Chappell Ronan now.
about Air Jordans. So I mean,
that one, yeah.
So I mean, when again, this is the old Sam Francis point that if you can effectively deracinate a people from blood, soil, and any sort of historical or religious identity, then all of a sudden it's really easy to implement a new program and to replace those people that are willing to just buy into the slop, say that it's good actually, and that, you know, Movie Bob is actually like the pinnacle of white culture, and then we're just going to go from there. Right? Like that's what this is about. And so what you're seeing now is this fundamental divide from 2 epistemic points of view, that there is a historical American nation. There are these things that matter. There are these things that exist. Like, this is not the rhetoric of even Bill Clinton when we talk about like 90s Democrats. I mean, we're talking about, even for all the faults that you can say Trump has, and he's got a lot of them.
We're not like totally.
I'm not a Trump sycophant, but I do want him to win. In the same way that, like, you see J.D. Vance even hit on legal immigration. And it's just like, and he talks about nationhood being more than just a place that are lines on a map. Like, that's still drastically an improvement on the issues of the things that the right should care about. And unfortunately, you're up against a system. I'll just finish it here. Unfortunately, you're up against a system that fundamentally wishes to, and probably has ties to, the most recent shooter. Just in the same way that we'll never know what happened with Thomas Matthew Crooks. And it doesn't matter that this guy was...
You mean Maxwell Urich?
Yeah. Exactly. But just for the purposes of being on YouTube, I guess. But just for all of this being said, like, you can. I mean, there's the leftist stochastic terrorism argument that is true, because, you know, we haven't gone anywhere, and you were talking about this earlier too, Gio. Like, we haven't gone anywhere from like, well, we have to defend this order. Well, clearly, because I mean, even in 2015, 2016, it was like, oh, punch your local fash, bash the fash, you know, punch a Nazi. Remember? And now, well, the logical conclusion of that is that the state will sponsor somebody to do that for them when it comes to a political figurehead.
Yeah. No, exactly, 100%. For all my criticisms of Vance, I do think that his reply to Trump almost getting shot again was pretty good. He did some Vatnik posting in there as well. We talked about the Ukrainian lobby. Sorry, Gio, preparing an extra large crystal put you in now. I'm in so much pain. I'm in so much pain. I love that. Like, when I put an elf in a tesseract for 10 crystal for 10,000 years. And it's like the boogie thing where he's wigging out.
I shouldn't laugh at that clip, but it is really funny.
But he deserves it. Yeah. I mean, it's okay. You know, it's all pro wrestling, right? Like, it's him and Keemstar, they cook this up because that's all they have, is just basically pressing Boogie on his fake SA childhood and his fake cancer. So they do that bit where it's like Boogie is like, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna unallow. I'm gonna sunset, and it's like nothing happens, and they keep having to do it, and so you know, it's pro wrestling with Boogie. But anyways, I wanted on this point though about post-truth and what you were talking about with that vision of America. I was gonna cover this on the Core Report, and this is kind of like a Core Report-esque episode. There was this deranged thread by some kind of like hicklib pretending to be a conservative. I think you saw this, Prude. Screen share. Where is it? Here it is. And so who's their competition? Jay Dyer, Tweetathon, and Naomi Wolf. Mummy Naomi Wolf.
I think we're fine.
She looks pretty good for her age. She's 60 years old. She looks like she's not even 40. Anyways, never mind. I'm a big fan of her work. Anyway, so this guy, he's like this total hicklib, and he like did this, and this is, I think, this, if you want to talk about boomer truth and how conservatards are being used as a pawn against by the current order of things. Like, let's just read. Okay. I'm a conservative, always admired Reagan, of course. I don't want the woke progressive left. And see, notice this half-hearted thing about like, I don't like those woke people, but really they're just going to keep bashing the right wing the whole way. And supported DeSantis in the primary. I know Harris is a lib and never liked, yeah, I'm sure, buddy, I'm sure. But last night made it obvious to me that, so this was after the debate, that Harris had more respect for our institutions, our cultural norms, and for our American traditions than Trump. He's so awful. It makes her look Reagan-esque. It makes her look Reagan-esque. This is the weird for all of these like conservative luminaries that talk about the Western canon, that like Victor Davis Hanson or Alan Bloom or whatever. There's like this weird ahistoricism, this like weird amber, like stuck in amber position of the conservative. Either it's like Norman Rockwell's 1950s or it's like Reagan America. And it's not like Thucydides. It's not, the great generals of antiquity. It's not even Cicero. It's like Ronald Reagan. And it, you know what I mean, Prude? It's like this weird. Yeah. So like, you couldn't say that she was like any other great historical figure, even in America, right? Anyways, when Harris said Trump's own generals, and so this is what I wanted to say. Trump's own generals, the same incompetent group of fuck-ups that perpetrated endless wars, that are basically agents of the deep state that, stabbed Trump in the back, more or less. It's like, it's unbelievable. Joint Chiefs of Staff and National Security Advisor won't support him and say he's dangerously unfit, a disgrace, and a wannabe dictator. Trump immediately perked up and went in a weird rant about how Viktor Orban, Eastern Europe autocrat, loves him and tells him how strong he is, much he likes him, as much as I already despise him. That turned it up a notch. Unbelievable. Wow, just wow. The guy is just completely un-American and has no idea or understanding what it makes our country what it is, what makes a republic or what democracy means. Isn't he like contradicting himself there? Anyways.
Well, I mean, the point that he's saying is, and I mean, he's not really, I don't know if I want to just call him like he's not he's a lib for all intents and purposes. Let's not kid ourselves. But like, yeah, I think it's important to understand that like American conservatives, I mean, even if this guy has a single right-wing belief in his body, which I doubt, there is this huge cult. And it's probably not the right word to use, but there is this huge cult of desire or interest that is in American institutions. Yeah, we love institutional, dignity, in part because up until recently, or at least until the pot got way too, bad for us to notice, was that actually, our institutions are pretty damn good. Because we've enjoyed a level of comfort that our institutions have been able to provide, which you can say a lot of things about how messed up or how unconstitutional things are. The American system, for the legal documents that it's based on, is pretty resilient in terms of its flexibility and what it can abuse and what you can do. Like, it's created a pretty remarkable system. And I don't say that as a compliment to it. I say that as a structural thing. It's pretty damn resilient. Now,
it has a metastability that, unfortunately, I think when people corrupt it. Also,
yes. There's a lot to lament about it, but
it's like what I said about the British system a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I mean it's there. I mean, both have a remarkably long and sort of storied and sordid history, but at the same time, right? Like, this is also what you have to live with. Yeah, as a consequence of like that, these are systems that technically are going to have that select for a certain class of being. And by that certain class is going to be like an established bureaucratic system. This is why everyone talks about how awful, it is with education, or how it's important for us to, salt the earth around Harvard and Yale and all the rest. Or even with like Sam Bankman-Fried and all those ties to like the Massachusetts Institute of Technology with his dad, and then Caroline Ellison and all the rest of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, like, this kind of worship of the institution. Some people also, well, if you want a British example, I guess that would be like, Peter Hitchens doing the whole like, well, as long as Parliament, the Church of England survived, then like England is England, and it's just like no, if you, like, ethnically replace that, it's over, man. But that's of course like
if non-scov is intact, exactly. If non-scov is intact, then it's fine. It's like no, it's like that's not how it works, right?
No.
But here's what really tipped me off, and this is what really wanted me to read this thread. The guy's just completely American. It's our shared culture, American DNA to hate this type of people Trump loves. But is it really though?
No.
Wasn't George Washington, or even what about Lincoln, or even to an extent Roosevelt, or I mean even FDR if you really want to be technical about it, or even Andrew Jackson would be called a dictator by today's standards, right? I mean, hell, in Canada, there are prime ministers who would be called dictators by today's standards, right? We all know he called to terminate the Constitution and led a seditious fake election. But this is, there you go. This is clearly an astroturf lib, right? At the Capitol attempt to overturn the election, he clearly completely insane and unfit, blah, 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 blah. Lord willing, Harris will beat this fool in a landslide. And here you go. The GOP can rebuild into more of a party and less of a cult, and we can be done. So again, the GOP can become the GWAD era, George Bush, McCain, which I believe Kamala Harris also brought up McCain. And, the late, great John McCain, Songbird. But the point being is that, it is true that, especially in current day, I would say post-war America, there is this weird reverence for institutions. And if you look at the greater European systems, or even the Anglosphere to narrow it down, the Canadian, British, Australian systems don't exactly work that way. Although I would say that they've managed to perfect managerialism to what AA was. It AA or was it? No, it was Distributus that said, he called it post-political systems.
Yeah.
But America, despite its weird reverence for institutions, there is still within America, even in Spangler talked about this, a reverence for great men of history. And Trump is I think a kind of a different strain of the American spirit, or you would say the sort of greater new sphere of America going into its collective unconscious. To say that like he's this alien thing, that he's like this, Asiatic strongman like Putin and Xi, this like Eurasian strongman model, which isn't exactly true because there's a huge heap of, bureaucratic apparatus around them, even in the Soviet Union, right? But it's very strange how the institutions are worshipped above everything. Like you were saying in the British example, not the people of America, not what it even means to live in a civilization or to live in a nation that has a unique historicity to it and a unique people. But it's very weird how the same system that would crush this guy is like he's worshiping it. And Trump is an affront to the system. It's sort of like when, and again, this came up in the debate over and over again, that Trump's generals hate him, the Republican Party's voting against him and voting for me, Kamala Harris. But when you really think about it, is that like a good thing? It's sold as like this weird consensus building of reality. That the consensus is that Trump is this unique foreign antigen, this virus that must be expelled from the American immune system. But when you really think of it, why would you suddenly start worshiping these like career politicians and these corrupt generals and these Republican Party hacks that basically for 50 years longer, basically eroded any form of meaningful resistance on the American right? But of course, they don't care about that because they don't even know that they're even on the right. They don't care, right? This is unfortunately a product of the Anglosphere political, like liberal political system, is that there is a weird sort of, it's like that Landshark tweet about the right wing, like everyone from like communists to social democrats to like Reaganite conservatives, they all band together when it comes to an actual right wing taking power. And so I think that because it's such an ingrained enemy in the immune system of all of these places, that they don't even realize that like they're next on the chopping block. I mean, is this like Hicklib going to like be immune from Coconut Kamala America? No, it's like it's insanity. And it really shows the denigration. And this is what Nightmare Vision was saying the other day that he got like some flack for. It really shows it's, you know, on the left, when they say that the conservatives have this like weird form of intellectual poverty, it's true. It's true. Like they don't have like, they'll read Alan Bloom, The Closing of the American Mind, or they'll like look at Victor Davis Hanson on YouTube, on Fox News or whatever, and they'll say like, oh, look at the great Western art, and look at the great, we still have it. We still have Howard Sabine doing 3D sculptures. That's great. Doing photorealist sculptures where he digitally scans people. We have Howard Sabine, man. That's great. And so they don't really care. They don't care. Because if you look at the structure of, especially when it comes to culture and when it comes to the arts, when you look historically, a lot of these right-wing movements in Europe and even in North America, it's completely different. Like it's like 80s Reagan Americana, it sort of wiped the cultural memory clean of conservatives in America. And it's like, and again, like what Nightmare Vision said, for people that go on and on about like we're defending the West, they only focus on political hot takes and punditry, nothing else. NRO, nothing else. And so it's true. And these people, they did it to themselves. And it's sorry, I'm going on, Prue, but you know what I mean. It's like I see stuff like this, and it really gets my goat, because for all of the money and lobbying and power that conservatism TM has, enough money, enough influence to just give a little fraction of it for frogs to change the culture, for people like us to do great things. They don't want that. They hate that. And it's totally against their prerogative. You know, and imagine how different the 2010s would have looked like if conservatism TM rallied the wagons around people who are more creative and more inclined, but who are anonymous. You know, that's the big sin, anonymity. But anyways, yeah, sorry. So go ahead.
Well, I think that there's a lot of truth to what you had said. I mean, I think that there's an institution worship, and I think that there's a lot of it is just that so many people are kind of set in their ways. Because I mean, you can, like, for instance, like, I guess I don't want to. I'm trying not to denigrate people. I know, I mean, it's not like they'll listen, but still, it's just out of respect. But I mean, like, I run into that kind of all the time with family as well as with like older coworkers, because where I work, everyone is like at a minimum 25 years older than me.
Yeah,
like I'm the youngest person in the entire office building, like just period. I'm the youngest person there, and I'm used to that just by the nature of what I do. But you know, and they'll act like it's crazy. They're like, oh, well, like, this is like beyond the pale. And it's just like, I guess you haven't noticed, or you haven't really cared because you're not, you're not politically as conscious as I am, or you're not as like racially conscious as I am. But it's just like, okay, well, you can talk about norms and you can talk about the institutions that make America what they are. But those institutions were built by, and you see this as well, where J.D. Vance or even Orrin McIntyre on his show, he'll frame it as a culture thing. And he kind of has to, because I don't think you can just like outright say like, well, we really don't want all these like freaking like white murdering Haitians in my country. Like I just like there's limits to what you can say, I guess, with those
like, this is the Nightmare Vision tweet that I was talking about. Whether it's their fault or not, the irony of neoconservatism is that it accused the old right of being Philistines, but it was during their domination of conservatism that it became solely about electoral politics with almost zero cultural, aesthetic, or literary output. The accusation of ignorance really just meant that they didn't like non-leftist politics, but if you compare what counted as right-wing thought prior to the 80s and what came after, it's ridiculous. It denigrated in every single possible way. Say what you will about the deficiencies of the immediate post-war right, but it was almost entirely made up of humanistic scholars who had very little interest in public policy or managing elections. Then here's our good friend Charles Wing Uxkull, the fugitives, the Algerian. Yeah. So that's what I was referring to. Sorry, I cut you off.
But no, but that is true. I mean, so look at the old right from pre-World War II into the Second World War until maybe like right after the war ends. So for instance, one of my big, you can call him libertarian, call him what, but I mean really old right political influences is Garrett,
Yeah.
but he was not just he wasn't just a famous writer. He was also the editor of the Saturday Evening Post. He wrote numerous novels, and a lot of his novels would seem very Randian if you were to read them today, because he's focusing about the American business spirit, like that American entrepreneurial individualism, about overcoming a culture that doesn't want you to be great. It's preventing you from being the man that you can be. There's something very vitalistic about that in that post World War I era of good feelings capitalism that we don't have, and most Americans have never seen in their lifetime. We will never have that. Maybe we will. Who knows?
Well, Trump embodies that 80s macho capitalism.
He embodies an 80s macho capitalism, which is like the closest thing that we've seen to like that level of like, wow, things were good once. Like that Morning in America Again vibe. Like that's not been seen in our lifetime. It has not been seen in mine. It has not been seen in yours. It may never be seen again. And so like, oh, there's a reminder that like there used to be this like vibrancy, this search for vitality. And it has a unique American spin to it that Trump still somewhat embodies, even in his own kind of like quirky ways. But that's who he is. And there's a big reason to hate that. So again, like the aspect about culture is very true, because when you look at culture today, well, we ignore it in a lot of sense. Like, what is the culture war? Well, a lot of it was talking about very sort of saccharine things that tried to cut at deeper issues. Like the war on Christmas is a really good one, because America is still a large part, and compared to our European or Canadian or other Anglosphere counterparts, still the most religious parts of the West. Unless you want to count America as its own separate thing, fine. But even then, right, like it's vastly more religious than any part of its Western or Anglo or European counterparts. And then because of that, like the war on Christmas is actually a still meaningful thing. So like, Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity can bitch about like red coffee cups or whatever from Starbucks, but the fundamental issue is that that's still you're addressing something deeper, but it's so homeopathic. It's like a homeopathic form of politics. Like it's this tiny little particulate of a much greater epistemic and metaphysical issue. And what is that metaphysical issue? Well, for the United States of America, it's some form of Christianity that has been at the heart and center of American politics since before and the beginning of the country. You get rid of that, what do you replace it with? Well, virtually we are living in that example. The death of the god that you once worshipped or was part of public life is going to be replaced by a new one. And that one obviously has been this very materialistic, anti-white, anti-Western ideology where people are like, well, this is insane. This isn't what America's all about. And they're like,
you're a movable part, in other words. Yeah.
You are a cog. And when you become that cog or you become anything else, I mean, like we clearly say that, oh, well, if cogs are interchangeable, then that means I can replace a small Ohio town of white people with a bunch of Haitians and everything's going to be great because the government will subsidize it. And I don't have to worry that their culture involves voodoo, animal sacrifice, and all sorts of other shit because it's cheaper and I can laugh at the pillbilly who got addicted to heroin. That's just the nature of how things are.
That was that. Yeah, go ahead.
And so, we focus on elections, but it's the same issue that a lot of guys that are anonymous that will, when they talk about culture, whether it's like vitalists, pagan, Christian, whatever, what they're getting at is the simple fact is that whatever we want to do, it's going to need a reason to live. And if you don't have a reason for people to live, then they're not going to get on board. I mean, this is why Trump has been the leader. Like he doesn't like Orrin is right when he says Trump does not deserve like the love and the praise and the laurels that he gets, because we really should get someone better than that. But we have degraded ourselves to such a point where, you're fired, Donald Trump, is got so many people who are willing to take a bullet for him and people who want to shoot bullets at him because he is sort of this embodiment of this swagger and American kind of cockiness that we don't want to see, or like, well, you and I do, but I mean, we don't have it anymore where it's obviously been browbeaten and destroyed by those who wish to see an older, whiter America disappear by the wayside. And so at the end of the day, right, like culture is important. And those, and unfortunately, the people who want to focus so much on culture happen to oftentimes be like the biggest fucking dorks on the planet. And that's a huge problem. Like,
that is true.
not just on the Christian side, but I mean, like, there are some really dorky, like, atheist culture warriors on the right as well. Like, every side has the worst representative for what they truly believe in, which is why, you know, dialogue on these issues do matter. I think a lot of that is happening off platform in places like Substack and the rest. But overall, like, I think Nightmare Vision's correct, because if you look at the old right, or even like the Southern agrarians, even though they got some things wrong, I think that what their biggest issue was critiquing the emphasis on the economy and electoral politics over culture and identity. Because once you get rid of culture, any sort of argument about like ethnic identity, religious identity, whatever, it is so easy to be pushed to the side or destroyed or focused and reframed and repackaged into some issue about my GDP or my Zionism or whatever. And that's the big logical consequence of like the post-war conservative era is that, you know, there's been an emphasis on winning. And even in the new right papers, it's a huge emphasis on winning, about elections and how to take care of the state and the administration, but never about what does a healthy political ethnos or civitas look like in the end. And that, I think, is going to be a great challenge for whatever, you know, pursues after this election.
Look at all of us. We're weird. CG Constantine. No, it's true, man. I mean, we are all weird. Yeah, like, no, but Jonathan Bowden was weird. He was a boheme. You know, he lived in a van in a state park. You know, like, there was, if you look at, like, how degraded things are, there was this video, I'm not going to put it up because, honestly, it's YouTube, and I don't want to put it up because it's terrible. It's disgusting. There was, I tweeted about it, but then I deleted it because I just didn't want to attract negative attention, even on a spiritual level. There's this tweet, there was like this group of young boys, and one of them clearly looked autistic or whatever. And these group of boys, and none of them were African American, by the way. One of them may have been, who cares if they're mixed race or not? And they tricked this boy into saying the sacred word.
Oh, yes.
You know, yeah, exactly. I need the I delete so many bangers. They need a forgotten Gio account.
You really do.
Yeah. So this boy said the sacred word, was tricked into saying it, and right away this kid, not even black, this kid punches him so hard in the back of the head that the kid falls to the ground, and I believe he's only about 6 or 7, 8 years old. And he's screaming in terror because he can't see. Because, folks, if you hit somebody in the back of the head hard enough, it will basically sever their what do they call it? The cornea. And he's shrieking and he's screaming, and his life is fundamentally changed. Hopefully he gains his vision back. And the tweet, it's one of these, like, there's all these like Twitter accounts that's like Fight Man or Fight Tube or it's all just basically
the most low impulse, non-white kind of stuff you can get.
It's basically just clickbait. It's like engagement farming.
It's rage bait.
It's rage bait, yeah. And before you get to real comments on this YouTube, not on this Twitter video, there is at least a dozen OnlyFans bot links on this video of a kid whose life is fundamentally destroyed because he was tricked into saying the sacred word. And I saw that. And then, of course, you get down a little further to the real comments, and you have this like weird ethno-narcissistic fragility by a certain segment of Twitter about like how this boy deserved it. And of course, these people got ratio, thank God. But I remember I looked at that, and my tweet was about how this is life in America right here. Remember the old term Weimerica?
Yeah.
Like we're like Weimar Germany, right? It's rage bait. It's saying the sacred word. There's OnlyFans links promoting promos because, of course, every viral tweet, there's a bunch of, accounts that are probably in India or somewhere that have videos that they're promoting that are not related to the original video. And there's OnlyFans links. And I looked at that and I said, wow, that's really indicative of where we're at. and it's tragic. And then you see the sort of the narcissistic wound of a little kid daring to say this word, who was clearly looked like he had autism or something. And I remember, like, there was no greater illustration than that of like the current times that we're living in. And it's got everything. It's got virality. It has weird form of shameless online grifter engagement farming, and it has race relations. It's got everything wrong with our society. And that's why I deleted that tweet, because I didn't want to bring any more spiritual harm onto myself or people that follow me, because it's disgusting. And even if, like, it doesn't even matter, like, even if the boy that hit him in the back of the head was African American, that doesn't, like, it's so disgusting and egregious. And the kid screaming in terror because he can't see anymore. Like, it's even in a movie, when you hear a child screaming, it's like there's something instinctive inside of you that just goes off, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like that. It's like
I'm still like that with a lot of horror movies or films where there's the implication that like an infant has been injured. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's so visceral.
Like that one scene in The Shield with Antoine Wilson, and the little girl. Yeah, it's disgusting. So, and then I will say, there's kids, if you see in Gaza and so forth. Yeah, it's those videos as well. It's just the fact that you can scroll through and you can click on this immense cruelty. I think, like, as much as I am an internet dweller, and as much as I love being online, and as much as we live in times that are incredibly interesting, there still is an amount of psychic harm, of spiritual harm that's being done when you can scroll through and see a child being redacted in Gaza under a pile of rubble. It's like there's something. And I know a lot of people, they say that, oh, you shouldn't turn away from it because this is what's happening. No, it's true. But I'm just saying that the second order effect is that
you can only take so much.
Exactly, you can only take so much.
And I mean, to add to that, I mean, like, and it's interesting because you and I grew up relatively with the same era of internet, where you could look this stuff up. You can look
Ogreish,
you can literally look up all kinds of like depraved, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, Chinese industrial accidents, or even like early YouTube, right? With the Syrian civil war. Like, you could you could easily look up on YouTube GoPro footage and like phone footage of fighting in Raqqa and all that other stuff, right? Like, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is clearly not good for me. But at the same time, like, that's, part and parcel of the online world that we live in.
You can see Ukrainians and Russians dying in a trench.
We can just, like, or today, like, everyone kind of saw that viral clip of a Russian soldier, just laying down, throwing the explosive out of the way before it exploded on him, just looking up at the camera. Like, I grew up seeing a lot of that stuff when Live Leak was far more prevalent and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, now it's, well, everywhere. But again, the consequences of it are really intense, I guess, because it's with children far more than I would be with. And I get it. Some people will be like, well, close your heart to pity. And I'm like, sure.
Of course.
But at the same time,
it's different seeing a soldier getting murked than it is seeing a kid. You know what I mean?
There's an instinct part to it. I think that you kind of can't. I mean, you can, but you can't. So I don't know.
But the point is that I saw this, and it was an utterly perfect illustration of the reality that we're living in. And so when people they say that when they defend the current order of things, it's like that's what they're defending. They're defending the gratuitousness of it. Not just that child getting harmed for saying a word, but like it had to be accompanied with this like rage bait and OF links and this huge spectacle, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like that tweet, I think Martin replied to it, where the guy was this guy, he's this like, I think he's like one of these like, Eastern European libtards that hates the fact that they're Eastern European. He's like this unironic he's this like unironic neoliberal NATO stan, where he's like, oh, why are you upset that Haitians culturally enriched and economically enriched this part of Ohio that, you know, people are basically just heroin zombies there. It's like, wow, that's really, you know, like, that's what people think, though. That's what a significant part of the population. This is, and again, this is why when you hear people like Richard Hanania talk about elite human capital as if our current elites are anything worthy of worship, that's what they believe too. They're so smart that they believe that there's no difference between people. They're so smart that they believe that these armpits of America that have been purposefully destroyed by coastal elites and by huge corporations and by government policies, that actually it's good that they're being culturally enriched, because who cares about those hillbillies, those hicks, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, that's what elite human capital believes. You figure they'd be so smart to find a way to preserve the populations that have trailblazed in world history, that have created civilizations that may not ever be reached again. Well, at least here, barring the fact if there's, you know, alien civilizations, whatever, right? Or there was a previous great civilization that got wiped out if you're like a Graham Hancock stan or whatever. But you'd figure they're so smart that they could find a way to preserve people that historically has been the heart of, say, America or Canada or Britain or France or wherever. But no, Benania doesn't believe that, because Benania thinks that IQ is this like quotidian resource, like a standing reserve. And that, you know, IQ that's a standing reserve in India or in Bangladesh or in you know, Nairobi, it's the same as anywhere else. It's just like this property that we have to harvest throughout the world. Oh, but what happens when you rob these places of their smart, productive people, and then you create an IQ shredder, and then these nations become even more teeming with abominable poverty and crime and horrors? Oh, but, you know, don't worry about it. We'll work that out somehow. We'll have some kind of global managerial system. See how this works when you take very delicate equilibriums. Because you have to remember, humans operate in an ecosystem just like nature. Not to say that we are like nature, but you know what I mean. It's true. There is an ecology of human society. When you disrupt that equilibrium, look what happens. All of the second order effects that you have to account for. You know, there's actually, I shouldn't bring this up because it's a serious point, but the Wyatt thread with the anime girls, but it was a good thread about the problems with immigration and the problems with IQ shredding and so forth. But unfortunately, he had a bunch of like lewd anime girls on the thread.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that on main, but I mean, when Wyatt is sometimes hit or miss, but when he's good, and that was definitely one of them, because it's just like, I mean, this is the epitome of the fact that there's certain things that have been verboten out of there. I mean, like Martin had a tweet about this earlier. He's like, you know, there was a point in time in the United States Military Academy where you were encouraged to read Lothrop Stoddard, and it's just like, you know, that's a wild thing to consider, that some time ago that was the acceptable norm for America's military officers, was like a healthy, racially motivated society that says, like, you are part of this greater thing that will inherit the earth, and you're going to accomplish great things because of it. And if I recall correctly, like even is it in some of Marx's writings where he's just like, well, the reason why like we're not going to see these revolutions happen in America is because like the perfect breed of like Anglo and Germanic peoples has been bred for like the ultimate industrial man that will accomplish great things. And he's just like, so I don't have a lot of hope for communism in America.
Was it Engels more or Marx? I think it was Marx.
Maybe it was Marx. But again, I can't remember the specific line itself, but
no, but even like the racial thing is the most important thing. But even like, I know people, it's like they say it's cucking or whatever to talk about religion, but the erosion of faith as well is another big problem.
Well, faith is about, I mean, just in general, you need to give people a reason to live, and that is a very like kind of blank slate liberal argument about faith or why like religion is a nominative good to society. But if you do not give people a reason to live, you're constantly living in a situation and in a society that is basically, you know, advocating only for suicide. And this is something that Semyagog is very good at pointing out on, and countless others have as well, that the popular media culture and representations for white people is noble suicide. It is the perversion of laying your life down for your friends, and it is saying, well, actually, like, the noble thing to do is to just, like, die because
revolutionary
revolutionary like martyrdom, rather than like any Christian sense of that idea. And so what becomes of it then essentially is like, well, all right, like the Children of Men movie is actually an excellent example of this. If you read the original book, it's not this like racial, like, oh, like obviously like the white man's gonna sacrifice himself for like obviously this like black pregnant lady. The book is vastly different because it's talking about what do you do in a society where there's no future and there's no hope for the future in Britain. And it's a criticism of the dechristianization of the country. But of course, that's not really addressed in the movie at all. And we see this.
No, the Christian symbolism of the book is never. It's not in the movie.
No, of course not. In the same way that, like, even in what's another really, like, all these sequels, right? Like all IP sequels. You know, it's about these. It's about the female. It's no longer about like the heroic male aspect. It's no longer about it. You know, Luke Skywalker's a cuckold or whatever. Like, you know, all those things are there for a reason. And it makes the message very clear.
Mark Hamill actually is a cuckold.
Well, yeah, but
yeah.
Still.
No, but you know what's funny though is that like it was the 10th anniversary of Gamergate, and I know like the problem with like the female characters is that you can create a female character. I listen. I know this is like me being women respect or wholesome chungus, whatever. But instead of appropriating existing franchises, like let's make Ghostbusters female, let's make Luke Skywalker female, and like they have no one, they're totally like full of plot armor. There's no they're invincible. They do it effortlessly. There's a lot of like great literature you could use as an example of a female character that does have normal female vulnerabilities and actually is real. You know what I mean? Like you could do that, right? I mean, apparently they're producing a Joan of Arc movie, which is going to, I can only envision the subversion that they're going to do. But no, you could have like a female heroine that actually is real. I mean, that's why like a lot of these like coquettish e-girl, Thinspo, Red Scare listeners, that's why they're reading like Joan Didion, and they're reading Sylvia Plath, which actually someone paid me to read her book. I personally think you should throw all that trash out of the garbage, and you should read Honor Levy's My First Book. So screw you, Joan Didion. Screw you, Sylvia Plath. Just Honor Levy. That's it. That's no, I'm kidding. Read Sylvia Plath, read Emily Dickinson, read Joan, well, maybe not read Joan Didion, but like you could throw all female literature out, only read Honor Levy's My First Book. That's all you need to read to understand the modern woman. I'm joking. There's many good female authors. She is the Flannery O'Connor of the Zoomers, in my opinion.
We're doomed.
Is Alice Munro actually good, Michi Peachy?
I have no idea.
I'm good. Emily Dickinson sucks. Mary Shelley's good.
But bite me.
I like her poetry. I liked Wuthering Heights. I liked Emily Bronte. I identified with Heathcliff as a at the time I was like a brooding
young man.
Yeah, a sensitive young man as a trousseau, yeah. But Honor Levy's the Flannery O'Connor of our generation, so the Zoomer generation. Who's the Flannery O'Connor of the millennials? I don't know.
That's a good question.
Gia Tolentino?
I don't know if she's the millennial, but I guarantee you that the literature behind 50 Shades of Grey, I'm sure, was the literary linchpin for so much of our millennial and Zoomer book talk.
What is this movie, Sexy Beast? It's two. I will watch any film
For
from
$100.
the year 2000. Yeah, Sexy Beast. If you pay me $100, it's got Ben Kingsley in it. Black comedy from Jonathan Glazer. Yeah, I'll review it if you pay me $100. I'll review it. I'll review it, Caravaggio. But anyways, no, I think you know why they canceled Gia Tolentino?
Why?
I actually have her book Trick Mirror because her parents were running like an indentured servitude ring where they were getting, kind of like the New Yorker cover. They were enslaving these women from the third world, from like the Philippines or wherever, to become nannies for rich white women in New York. And so she got totally brutally canceled, Gia Tolentino.
Oh,
yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Have you read Trick Mirror?
No.
I read it. It was all right. It is like whining millennial, upper middle class, confessional stuff, but it's pretty good.
That really is I think that would be the epitome of like millennial literature.
Yeah.
Was the like raunchy confessional.
Well, it's
raunchy confessional and vulgarity.
Yeah, like that
the Dr. House kind of deal, or the I used to be a miserable fuck kind of stuff.
Yeah. You know what's funny? You mentioned Movie Blob. He apparently Argent reviewed his book where he said that
Super Mario book.
Yeah, he said like the console wars was his Vietnam as a Gen Xer. That was like
wow.
Yeah, he said that the console wars was his Vietnam as a Gen Xer.
Wow.
Yeah, that's movie.
I kind of want to read that. I really want to read the book just for my own shits and grins purposes, but like I can also live without it.
I think Sidebar should review the Movie Blob book.
As one of their patrons, I should request that. I will request the Movie Blob.
I want to see Gabe's theory cell takes on the Movie Blob book.
Yes,
that'd be so funny.
Gabe must become a Movie Blob appreciator.
Yeah, no, but anyways, the point being is with the example of that kid getting hit, like it really is like cruelty. It really is the point. It really is.
Cruelty is the point and the norm.
Yeah.
Like it's not going away. It's not going away.
And that's the thing, though. It's. I mean, kids we've always been cruel, but.
Oh, sure.
I think like the greater context of it is something quite different. Like I know, as millennials, we know like how there's certain like youth issues that get politicized, like the whole eating disorder thing or bullying in general. But like, here's the thing with the world that we live in terms of the overarching left liberal ideology of global transnational progressivism is that even though there is, you should say there is, because there's a lot of people that have been left behind by the system. There's a lot of people that their lives are being destroyed. There's a lot of people being redacted in Ukraine and Gaza and so forth. But let's say, global war on terror, blah, blah, blah. But let's say that unlike other totalitarian ideologies, even though there's not a visible pile of bodies in every major city, even though there kind of is when you talk about all the deaths of despair and so forth, it gives people, and this is the essence of normie sadism, it gives people an excuse to be cruel at any given time, so long as the cruelty fits into the parameters of everyday interactions that have become politicized. And because everyday interactions are mediated by the greater socio-political gestalt, unlike never before. Because you have to realize that people in the Soviet Union even, they were aware of the politics, but their normal interactions, in places like East Germany with the Stasi or whatever, but like, it kind of like you knew about it, you didn't talk about certain things.
But you didn't want to get reported.
Exactly, but when you're forced every single day to mediate the most mundane interactions with a form of hyper-political awareness, it gives very sociopathic people a very easy in into basically cruelty maxing. A guy like David Frum, he loves that. A guy like David French loves that because they can buy into the system, even though for years they could say, oh, I was a conservative or whatever. But even like, okay, let's not just focus on those traitors and backstabbers, but even people that are apparatchiks of the system that maybe have their lives destroyed, that their souls are depleted, they get an immense amount of satisfaction from cruelty maxing within the parameters of the system, right? Like someone like who's a good example?
Well, you can use that whole debate about the Home Depot lady that the right.
Oh yeah.
It's a perfect example.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I mean. And so it was like, I forget who tweeted it. It may have been James Kirkpatrick, or may have been Martin. That tweet from the Onion making fun of the firefighter that lost his life, that was redacted the Trump rally. I think it was James Kirkpatrick that said, you have to realize that these people, they don't care. And there will come a time when you maybe have to close your heart to pity. And and they mock you, and it's cruel, and they love it. And they have an immediate excuse as soon as you push back and you say, hey, that's abominable, that's inhuman. They say, well, you're inhuman because you dehumanize all of the favorite groups of the regime. You dehumanize them. And so therefore your life is worth nothing. And so this is the nature of the society that we live in. And I know it's not like a stunning truth bomb. It's not like a theory cell talking, it's not a huge galaxy brain talking point. But the reality is that there is like this weird asociality that gets promoted under the system, that, you have a right to be cruel to the people that are placed outside of the law, the Muslims, right? That's where Agamben got it from, right? People that are placed outside of the law that aren't even like the slave that, in Roman juridical law, there was all these rules that you couldn't beat slaves a certain way, you couldn't molest their women, so forth. But the people that were the homo sacer were totally outside of it, that there was no consequences for punishing them, right? And so in so many ways, that's the reality of it. And they'll point to you and they'll say, well, you're inciting violence because of J6 or whatever. But you'd figure, like, okay, let me give you a little thought experiment. Because I know I'm ranting a long time here. If this was, say, 20 years ago, with another presidential candidate that has almost been assassinated 2 times, do you think that people would have this, like, Kamala and Tim Walz, they had the throwaway tweets about, oh, we don't condone violence. But yet they hammer that, MAGA-tards, this unique threat to American democracy, blah, blah, blah. If this was even 20 years ago, would there not still be like a standard to say, okay, we have to like cool this, there's still a level of grace there to say that, oh, well, maybe if the guy's almost been assassinated twice, then maybe there's something wrong with going after him this hard.
I would argue yes.
Yeah, the same was George W. Bush, for example.
Well, okay, I would say partially yes, but also no. I would say that it wouldn't be as in your face. In part just because America was whiter 20 years ago. There was a standard of sort of what was considered the norm.
Well, there was more cultural cohesion as well.
That too. Well, I mean, although definitely I would say that the global war on terror and Bush did a great job at sort of fracturing that. Yeah. But also at the same time, because I mean, what is the reaction to Obama other than the reaction to Bush is Obama. So there is a huge, huge difference of what comes out of that consensus. And I think that's an important thing to consider. But on one hand, probably wouldn't be nearly as bad. But at the same time, they didn't want him to die. There was that whole movie about of course they wanted Bush dead, but I mean there was the whole, oh my gosh, if Bush dies, then Dick Cheney becomes president, and then he runs America into World War III, and he's in office for 8 years, and the horrors, right? That's all there. And then on top of that, you've got just a different body politic, because America was still whiter and it was a little less crazy, because a lot of what we consider to be the woke or the anti-white racial animosity, it really comes off in Obama's second term, because we have to remember ourselves in
Used to be
2012.
universities before.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all there, but I mean, it really comes to the public ire in 2012 onward, because what does Barack Obama see? Barack Obama sees that we're talking about amnesty. We're talking about the complete destruction of the Republican Party as we know it. And he's thinking, oh man, this is it. This is the moment, the revolutionary moment to strike. And he does. Because by the end of Obama's term, where he's a lame duck, we're talking about free healthcare, free community college, Gibbs for every non-white person imaginable.
The Dreamers.
The Dreamers, too, and DACA and all that stuff. It's all there. It's all there. And it really unfolds itself in that term. And because, there had been no immigration restriction, because now you had so many non-white students and things like that, all of a sudden, the culture said very clearly and very plainly, this is the new normal, and, it's not made for you. It's not made for you. It's no longer your country. And that was the revolutionary moment. And so, yeah, maybe if we're talking like 2002 and something like this happens for like 2004 when he's running for re-election, then yeah, maybe it'd be a little different. But at the same time, no.
Yeah.
No.
You'd have to go back further, I guess.
You'd have to go back to, I don't know, Kennedy.
Yeah, maybe Kennedy. Yeah. Yeah. I'd imagine, like, if the assassination attempt failed, that I'd imagine, like, Nixon would be like, "Oh, this is a terrible tragedy. I'm very sorry about JFK." And
we can't even conceptualize that country. I'm sorry, I don't think we can, because despite the we had our own immigration issues where it was like,
could your parents?
Maybe I could ask
my
them.
my old man remembers older Canada, but
but I mean, like, what I'm saying is like, I don't think you and I can conceptualize it, because there was a mass kind of acceptable politic, like there was things that were like gross beyond the pale, that we could never ever envision ourselves actually going that far down the rabbit hole to where, like, oh, we want this guy to die, I don't know. Like, I mean, to some extent, yes, because like there were real existential threats to America. Like, there were communists, there were subverters, there were obviously terrible people. Yeah, but there was a greater amount of civility that just does.
There were serial redactors as well, but that was a different thing. Yeah,
but I mean, like, we do not have. We have the husk, the dried, worn husk of America's civil political society. That's what we're playing with. We are playing with the withered corpse of America's civil order. And the ordeal of civility has happened through mass migration and demographic transformation. And we are living in the aftermath of that, to where a lot of these, like, boomers, because again, most of the electorate is still baby boomers. Most of America's politicians are still old and primarily white baby boomers. They're holding on to this idea of civility while they're watching all these non-white politicians engage in the ordeal of civility. What's a good example than a couple of years ago, like Thomas Massey, and that black congressman about gun control, and that guy is just ranting and yelling incoherently like a black person. There's like, there's not. What else can you say about that other than like, oh, this is politics in America? A reasonably well-educated, intelligent white man getting yelled at by a black guy over an incoherent talking point that makes no sense.
That was
that's
like
it. That's it.
Yeah, no, it's true. But then again, was it the turning point really it wasn't this century, it was like the last century, of course.
I mean, it's still there.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, I think, like, we conceptualize it as millennials as the turning point in the 21st century was the midterm Obama, but yet these
it was much earlier than that.
Yeah.
That's true. But I mean, for us as terminally online, or we grew up on, like, our medium of understanding and perceiving the world, yes, it would be the mid 2010s.
Yeah.
But obviously it came much earlier.
It's like, do you remember, and listen, it's terrible propaganda. But the Kite Runner? You read that in school, right?
I did not, actually.
Oh wow, okay. In Canada we had to read it.
Is this a World War II themed history book?
No, the Kite Runner about the Afghanistan. It was like a totally, like, revisionist take on It was like the Afghan boy, but then he goes to America. Then he
Oh,
has to go
I
back.
had to read
You know the
that.
one, right? The kite runner.
Yeah. I had to read that Cups of Tea one.
It was the same author. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They gave American diplomats and yes, it's the book about cheek busting. Yeah. They gave the American diplomats and like Marines that book, The Three Cups of Tea. It was like total. It was
it was total bullshit.
Yeah, it was bullshit. Yeah. But anyways, do you remember that one scene? It was even the movie where he goes back to Afghanistan and the guy's trying to tell him, he goes, listen, you grew up as a rich Afghani under before the communists took over. And he goes, you're a tourist in your own country. And I'm like, even though that book is propaganda, that's true. It was very similar to the experience my mother had. She went back to Brazil in, I think it was 2000. It was right after my grandfather died, my paternal grandfather. And she went back in 2000. And you have to realize that she grew up in Brazil in the 60s when it was under the military junta. And Brazil was more or less stable. It was a developing country that had huge promise. But like the world sort of turned in the 70s and 80s. Brazil became this like orgy of violence and crime and destruction and poor, corrupt government mismanagement and socialists like Lula that had all these visions that never came to fruition because they themselves are corrupt. And my mother had very similar experience. That the Brazil that she went to and the experience of her relatives that were still there was very different than when she was a girl growing up in a largely Italian enclave in Sao Paulo. And so she had this like weird alienation, if you will, where it's like the country that you grew up in is no longer the country that exists. And I remember she was telling me that, and it's like, wow, that's crazy. But then I look around at current Canada, and I remember when I was a kid, I used to go to Toronto and it was exciting. But then you look around, it's like the country that I grew up in is not the country that exists today. And it's that weird sinking feeling of utter powerlessness at that. And granted, the current Liberal government, they're panicking right now. They're trying to do immigration reforms. And in BC, they're trying to get rid of the safe injection sites that aren't safe at all. But that's just like, it's kind of like the British Conservatives trying to limit immigration before they got ousted. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a sign of panic, right?
Well, it did not help that a 13-year-old girl OD'd.
Yeah.
Like, I guess in the optic sense of the word, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to do something about it.
And that's what I mean, though, is that the country that you grew up in is no longer the country that exists that you live in right now. And I remember my mother was so shocked at that. And, but, it is what it is. I mean, it is, put it this way.
It's nothing to be happy about.
Yeah, Brazil had a chance with Bolsonaro. I hate to say it, but like, not that he was like, he was a neoliberal and all that stuff, but like, compared to Lula, like, come on, man. Like, I know one of my mom's friends, actually, he had to leave Brazil because of the taxes and everything. He had a business and it's terrible, and, but I guess he's bourgeois scum. And so instead of being bourgeois scum, he has to live in a one-room apartment because here in Canada, they don't, they turn a blind eye to where they just fill up these apartments where you have like in a house, like 10, 11, 12 people living in like a single family house. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So, but he's bourgeois scum though, because he had like a carpet business, and but it is. I could talk about Brazil a lot more, but put it this way: my great aunt did not have to live in an apartment.
Communism and its consequences.
Yeah, exactly. No, my great aunt back in the day when they were growing up in the 60s in Brazil did not have to live in a gated, guarded compound apartment that has bars on even up to the 5th floor has fence and bars on the windows because people will climb up to try to rob your place, right? So put it that way. Yeah, it's wow, that's really depressing. Do you want to talk about the debate, Prude?
I feel like that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it kind of does.
We went from a debate to emphasizing the fact that there are a bunch of Haitians living in places where they shouldn't be, and that the UK wants to work with its allies to get a deeper ballistic missile strikes into Russian territory, and then there's all these concerns about the normie lib sadism of just like nuclear devastation and destruction, and then on top of that you have all the another Trump assassination, another odd deep state Ukraine NAFOID collection or connection. It's just like it's been a wild week and a half to cover things.
Yeah.
And again, all of this is unfolding, and I feel like and again on an electoral level, yeah, it's great to talk about like Democrats' stochastic terrorism, but at the same time, right, it's also
what's going to happen about it?
What's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen about it. I mean,
No.
DeSantis has grown some balls, and he says,
will the Democrats ever have their Seville moment? No, come on.
Well, we'll find out in October.
We'll find out. Yeah, no, will they have their J6 moment? No, because it's just that's not the way it works, and it's just that's. Oh, by the way, CG Constantine, he lives in Brazil. He says I can give some insights in more poor areas since I live in one. I grew up in the violent and corrupt Brazil, and it's still the same. Yeah, man, I'd love to hear. I still have a lot of family that lives in mostly Sao Paulo, but yeah, I have a lot of family in both Italy and Brazil. So, but anyways, this guy, what's very funny is that this guy, this Ruth, who's like a total Ukraine, like get this, okay? Now, you have to realize that a lot of the like older Ukrainian commanders, they're probably old enough to remember the Soviet Union, and there probably were junior officers when the Afghan war happened in the 80s. This guy, this Ruth guy that tried to shoot Trump, he tried to bring in Afghanis to help fight with the Ukrainians. And the Ukrainian commanders.
That's not the humorous part to that conversation. The humorous part is that we had a whole bunch of like Afghans that were leaving the country for reasons associated to our pullout. Where else are all that equipment and money going to go?
Yeah, 100%.
It's going to go in the hands of the Taliban, or it's going to go in the hands of future Ukrainian forces.
And King Pilled shared that that meme. Where is it? So this is by Mike Bentz, who used to go by Frame. Was it Frame Game?
Yes, that guy.
Yeah. Legion Grosstall, Ryan Ruth, the former construction worker from Greensboro. Is that North Carolina?
Yes, there's a Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yeah. Is seeking recruits. My aunt used to go to North Carolina all the time. Is seeking recruits from among Afghan soldiers who fled from the Taliban. Okay, fled from the Taliban. Mr. Ruth, who spent several months in Ukraine last year, said he planned on moving them, in some cases illegally, from Pakistan to Iran to Ukraine. He said dozens had expressed interest. We could probably purchase some passports through Pakistan since it's such a corrupt country. He said, wow, that's incredible. And
sometimes they just tell you what their plans are.
Yeah. Mr. Nance had left Ukraine but continued fundraising with a new group of allies. And so this is from Raheem Kassan from Jack Posobiec's group. Legion growth stalling. Ryan Ruth, a former construction worker. Interview with Mr. Lackey said that he had lied about being a U.S. Marine so he could join the Legion. I'm assuming this is the Ukraine Foreign Legion. And that's the what's her name? The Wallace woman. And then also, so here's Ann Applebaum. And speaking of terrible, hideous people, landed in Warsaw this morning, mass celebration this land in particular. And so this is where Kamala talks about the Polish people in Pennsylvania, and that Putler wants to take over, apparently wants to take over Poland as well. This is typical, like just reverse engineering of the Cold War, by the way. And where's this one by, here you go, Pete Booty Man. Pete Booty Man. Donald Trump won't say he wants Ukraine to win the war. I thought he would at least pretend. Why is it important? That was the point in the debate. Trump didn't want to say that Ukraine wanted to win. Because you know why? They logistically can't. And so he's saying, why do we want to continue the slaughtering of good men? in Ukraine. So Trump gave actually the anti-war answer. He said, listen, we need to stop because this is a complex geopolitical issue. And those people in the Donbass, they don't want to go with Kiev. And it's not going to end. And so it's like, why? Okay, they're not a NATO country. America hasn't officially declared war on Russia. Why is it so important symbolically that Trump says that he wants them to win? It's astounding. It's astounding. And that totally believable story that Anne Applebaum just happened to be in Poland and all those people cheer. Yeah, I'm sure people in a random Warsaw airport terminal was watching the Kamala Harris-Trump debate. I'm sure that's a totally real story by Anne Applebaum, right? But it's lunacy. It's lunacy. And these people are deranged. And they want to risk the collapse of civilization, whatever it's left of it, for this. Whether it's there or Israel provoking Iran, it's not good. It's not good. And I know it's this isn't a theory cell episode. It's more of a polemical episode, but it's just I thought it was insane when I saw these tweets. And then you have like the whole like Black Twitter thing where Kamala she blinked 10 times. It's like, those are the loudest blinks ever. You saw that one tweet while I was scrolling? Yeah, those are the loudest blinks ever. It's like, this is what we live. This is governance. This is what we live with. And it's
that's why I mentioned the Massey thing earlier. I was just like, really, this is your sort of like future like example of American politics. It's just going to be
Obama really was a trailblazer.
Yeah, I mean, he was. And I mean, it's like, well, we're just going to have just minorities blinking and doing the like Yas queening while someone's trying to discuss like, hey, here's how we actually fix this shit. And I mean, we kind of know
that's what Tim Waltz is for, apparently. He's like the foil, right? Yeah.
Well, even if he's a foil, I mean, what is he other than like the perfect example of a white Democrat, a infertile, emasculated kind of like, oh, I'm a tough guy. I'm your like high school football coach.
But I'm compassionate too.
But I'm compassionate too. Like he's the Yellowstone meme. Kind of embodied in that respect. And it's just really depressing because like this is our expectations for politics in the future going forward. This is like, if you're white, like this is the end for you. You will be a vice presidential candidate. You won't be much else because, that's what you're there for. It's like, oh, white dudes for Kamala, It's like, okay, well, that's the future of identitarianism for white Democrats.
And apparently in college, he talked about how he was part of a G-word-eyed class.
Yeah, genocide studies or whatever.
Yeah, and that if you compare Clownvid to certain historical events, that's evil. And that even though he had like the snitch line, and he was like totally crazy. He was like Justin Trudeau levels of Clownvid crazy, and that's why I hate Tim Walz. But speaking of Trudeau, by the way, did you see that clip of I know. Listen, I'm Canadian. I know I have to talk more about Canada because people accuse me of being like an interloper when talking about American politics all the time. Did you see Jagmeet Singh go crazy on that protester?
I did.
He's like, "You're gonna say that to my face?"
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Like, not even Justin would do that. I remember one time there was this protester insulting Justin, and Justin kind of like just smiled awkwardly and like looked away. But like, yeah, friend, you didn't see this. You're a leaf. Jagmeet Singh, and for those who don't know, there's rumors that the coalition between him and the Liberal Party, that they're collapsing. So Trudeau will go to a minority government if that happens, which means that there will probably be an election next year. So Jagmeet Singh, there's these like basically like, average Canadian, these two like white guys, and
actual Canadians.
Yeah. And he thought that one of them called him a coward or something. And so he like goes right up to the guy's face with the camera. And he's like, "You say that to my face right now." And he's like going off. And then the security, the police officer had to like separate him from the guy. Cause the guy's like, "Listen, man, I didn't say anything. It was the gentleman behind me. I'm very sorry, sir. But like, it's just, I'm sorry, man. Like, I didn't say anything." And Jackman's like, you said that to me. You said that. And it's like, this is the guy leading a major political party in Canada. Like, what a clown show, man. It's incredible. Like, you know, what's funny is, like, I know that in Canada, there's like a history of this. Like, I remember back in the day, there was this incident where someone tried to grab a hold of Prime Minister Chrétien, and Chrétien like put this guy in a headlock, and he's like, and the security's trying to like grab the guy away from Jean Chrétien, but he's like grabbing the guy, and so Chrétien literally fought a protester. But Jadmeet Singh,
you know what? I find that more honorable.
Yeah, it is more honorable. Yeah, it was funny. Whereas, you know what's funny though is that people, they clown on George Bush for the shoe incident, but George Bush, he did get up, you know?
Well, he dodged, but he also had like a shit-eating grin on his face when he did it.
Yeah, he was laughing. He's like, this guy's throwing a shoe at me. Because, you know, it's like a sign of disrespect in Islamic culture.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Chrétien's pepper sprayed someone as well.
Again, really different stuff.
Different time in Canada. Hockey mode, yeah.
Different time in America.
I guarantee you the Maple Leafs and the Canadians were playing that night, so Chrétien got inspired, you know. That's for those who don't know anything about hockey, the most famous rivalry, and I think it's like probably one of the most famous rivalries in all of sports, is between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. So that's been going on for like 100 years. So doesn't baseball have a rivalry that's been going for 100 years? I'm
sure it does, but I'm not as much of a baseball guy as I used to be.
The Mets and the I think the Mets have a historical rivalry. I forget. I thought you watched baseball, Prue.
I watched like the Astros play, and that's about it.
Yeah. I used
to watch a lot of Orioles games when I lived on the East Coast.
Have the Astros won a World Series?
Yes, they have.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyways, but the debate, I had a bunch of notes, but it's become kind of irrelevant.
It feels so pointless in the midst of
pointless.
Everything else that's happened.
Oh, the moderator bias, like quote unquote fact checking Trump in the middle of it.
Well, Trump has already said he's not doing another one.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Why would you?
I wouldn't either. Yeah, I agree. Even if it was on like Fox News, I wouldn't want to do another one because even those guys hate me. You
know? I said like the millennial women speechwriters.
This is the most female millennial election ever.
Yeah. That's why Harris would probably. I hate to say it, but she does have a good chance of winning. I hate to say it.
They had a good chance of winning just by the nature of our political like machines.
Yeah.
Like, her odds are great just because we don't have real elections in America.
Yeah. I will say though that Trump was kind of all over the place. Like he could have, like people said that he wasn't answering questions, but he did bring a lot of things back to immigration.
Just like he did. I think that the correct take is that, we had it so good because we were expecting a Biden blowout, you know?
Yeah.
And because what was all Harris had to do was not crack under pressure.
Yeah, pretty much.
And she did. She didn't crack under pressure. She held her own in the same way she did in her VP debate against Pence. And that was all that had to happen. That was it.
Yeah.
And so they're going to chalk it up as a win. It doesn't matter if she's an incoherent moron with no actual plan for this country other than to continue to make it worse. Like, by virtue of not, screwing the pooch like Biden, that's a victory for her. I mean, Trump did bring a lot back to immigration from the clips and the highlights I watched. I think the person who has the best take on this is actually Wade Stott. His video on the debate was really good.
I have to watch that if you could link it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
There was, I will say though that one of the best takes I saw was from Jordan Secret. Kathrine, she says Kamala win means 4 years of sassy expressions that a graveyard crew of millennial staffers will tweet out as reaction gifts every time a geopolitical crisis breaks out, and there will be numerous geopolitical crises. So, that's a great tweet. It got like 21,000 likes too. But I will say, okay, the debate was total crap because, listen, I'm looking through the notes that I wrote while I was writing. I was actually listening to the debate with my old man, and they're kind of irrelevant, just like the typical stuff, because Kamala really did repeat herself. But the tweet, like the post, the long post that I wrote, you can find it on my Telegram, Giant Productions, is that you have these two very stark contrasts of messaging, which some people in the media have talked about. But with Trump, you have the gritty realism of things are bad. We need leadership. We need global governance. We need a way to negotiate with people. We need to close the borders. People are dying, and it's terrible. With Kamala, you have this like retread of Obama Hope Corps, like indie, clap stomp hey indie music. You have this like weird what did I say? I said that Kamala is truly a reactionary figure, in that she wants to go back to the consensus reality of the 90s and the Obama era. She wants basically neoliberal kitsch world 2009 forever. When 2009 is their utopia, right? So Kamala wants this like, we're not going back, but we are kind of going back to like midterm Obama years. That's what we're going back to.
Yeah.
And we're going back to a civility that is so choking and throttling of all vitality in life, or any sort of political creativity, if you will. But there will be no political creativity. There will just be the messaging. There will just be the managerial. Yeah.
It'll just be, Obama.
Lean in.
Forever. Yeah, really, she is. She really is that embodiment of
the lean in.
The
yes,
lean in feminism. Sheryl Sandberg lean in feminism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, when Sheryl Sandberg says lean in, she means bend over, get on your knees. Because it's just like, actually, really, what Sheryl Sandberg's lean in philosophy really is like, hey, ladies, you need to act like a man.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
That's what I mean. Like, that's ultimately alienating to women too. And it's like, I remember there was a Twitter poster. I'm not going to say her name because she ended up marrying a friend of ours. You know the one where No,
I don't, but I'll just accept your word.
His name has a certain temperature reading to it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say her name because I respect their privacy. So she had this tweet about that. She had a tweet about how you have to perform this masculine role, and like this is ultimately, like, barring all the manosphere stuff, this really is a good critique of modern feminism. She said that you have to perform, and now with the transformer stuff, you're also competing with this weird objectification of femininity. And she got totally destroyed and bodied on Twitter. And this was pre-Elon Twitter. And I believe we interviewed her on the old podcast I was on. And no, but that was a great point, though, is that, in a lot of ways, it's like that tweet that Kashiwagi put out about the New Yorker cover about the racialized nannies, right? Is that it's not that it's solving a problem of women's objectification or alienation. It's rather creating new problems that then get offloaded to other women on a socioeconomic basis, right? So it's like the lean in Shirley Sandberg shit. It wasn't really about helping women in general. It really just displaced the problem to where Kamala is like this weird political chameleon where she locks up black men, but she also is down with, Viola Davis, not Viola Davis. Is that Viola Davis? Prison Abolition? Angela Davis. Yeah. But yet it's also because Trump made her pledge allegiance to, he inadvertently made her pledge allegiance to Israel. That was pretty funny. No, but the point being is that, like, with Kamala, there is this message of like stability and Hope Corps and the 2000s.
There's just so much hope.
Yeah, and she kept repeating herself, we're not going back. I want to have like small businesses and solar panels and the Chobani solar panel commercial.
I was going to say, I'm the Chobani commercial.
Yeah. And so I wrote this in my notes, like she's going on and on about this stuff, whereas Trump is like the gritty realism that's appealing to his base, obviously, right? But it really is like the excesses of, even though Kamala Harris is like, isn't she almost 60 years old? She's 59.
Yeah.
She is like the millennial, like the thoroughly soylenial character.
Oh yeah.
And,
I mean,
yeah.
and her marriage is only like 10 years old, and she did really well for herself because, you know, Doug
and her
Imhoff
stepkid
is
Little Bushwick.
fucking loaded.
Yeah. But here's why the debate was totally cooked, okay? Look at the topics. Out of all the things they focused on, abortion got a hugely disproportionate time compared to other topics.
Even though, for all intents and purposes, that issue on the national stage, barring some kind of revolutionary change, or really just by that I mean a Kamala victory, that issue is settled on the federal level.
And that's the only but that's what I mean. That's why they kept harping on it, because they knew that Trump was only going to retort with like, listen, the issue settled on a federal level. But they kept harping on it, harping.
This is the female issue, and it's the one issue the Democrats do well on.
Yes, and but then the other topics were relitigating stuff about Trump, like, did you provoke J6? What about Seville? Bro, Agenda 2025. And Trump said, listen, I disavow Agenda 20. I don't know anything about it. But she kept bringing it up over and over. And the moderators did not correct her on it, that Trump did disavow it. But of course, when Trump says anything, and so the whole debate, it was professional wrestling. It was, you know what it was like? It was like when Scott Steiner debated on Monday Night Raw. He debated Christopher Lewinsky, who was like this college-educated libtard. And Scott Steiner was like, the rah America, we got to get the terrorists. Right? Then, of course, like, it ends up that, Scott Steiner gave him a Steiner recliner after the debate, right? So that was like, it was literally professional wrestling. And you have all these topics designed to attack Trump. And the moderators, and there was this one super viral tweet about, like, the moderators clap back at Trump. And then people were like, listen, in the replies to this tweet, they're like, listen, are you not concerned that it's like there's like this illusion of transparency? It isn't even there anymore. I mean, it was a joke to begin with, but it's like,
that should be a sign of just how dispossessed you are politically.
Yeah, exactly. That the moderators have to clap back. So it really was just a firing squad. It was a 3-on-1 firing squad. It was basically an emporium on Trump's legacy, then a debate, and then at the very end they focus on some like throwaway thing that nobody cares about with climate change. Only like really, like, I hate to say it, but in terms of like the electorate in general, people really don't care, right? Like, it's just like, it is
climate
what it is.
change is a particularly I mean, like, it's a Davos.
They have to pay lip service.
It's a Davos daddy kind of issue, but at the same time, like, it's one of the few safe issues white Democrats can campaign on. Like, white Democrats can campaign on environmental issues and gun control, because limiting your quality of life and disarming white people are the only issues that white liberals can run on, and that's about it.
Oh, so this is another point I wanted to bring up. This is in the end of my notes here. Kamala Harris, she talks about hopes and dreams. She's doing the MLK Obama thing, and she's presenting as this like multiracial, multi-LGBT, whatever, libtardism. But then she says, then America has to become the most superior fighting force of the world, that we're like the world police. So this is core, like, humanitarian interventionism, that you're going to have this transnational progressive empire that is a weird amalgamation of, like, as much as I hate the term wokeness, it's the amalgamation of like wokeness and also like neoconservative obsessions with becoming the world police for a variety of reasons. Right? And the fact that she affirmed Israel as well and the Ukraine thing, it really was standard fare for Kamala Harris. So I will say that she's a very good talking head for the regime. But that being said, it was because the debate was specifically designed to cook Trump, and it was basically a firing squad. But I will say that she was competent enough that she didn't like fall apart.
Well, that was.
No, but like the MLK Obama thing, like she was doing the whole like hope and I have a dream and I dream of a better future for all Americans, and that, you know, I'm going to create solar panel small businesses or whatever, right? Like, so it was just like Democrat cool, right? Like it was just like it was doing the hope core thing.
I have a dream for Gibbs for everybody.
Then she talked about the immigration bill that Trump. That first of all, here's the most egregious thing: to say that Trump has an influence over the Republican Party as a whole is absurd. They hate him.
They have a few diehard GOP.
Yeah, he's got a few. Yeah.
But you're right. Overall, yes, the party hates him.
Yeah. The reason they killed that immigration bill is because the Democrats, they fit in a bunch of stuff that didn't pertain to immigration, but symbolically it was the immigration bill. So it's this political showmanship where it's like, haha, see, you're not really serious about immigration, even though you didn't want a green light. And first of all, okay, I know we talked about this on the show before, but please enlighten me, Prude.
Sure.
I think it's similar in Canada as well. Why shouldn't there be like a law to say that a bill should only pertain to a select limited number of issues? That they stuff all these different issues into one bill, but the headline of the bill, the top card is immigration or whatever. Like, why do they do bill stuffing? Like, should that be illegal? It's crazy.
Boy, I wish. Ironically, on the state level, there are a few state constitutions that have that explicitly banned.
Yeah.
But on a federal level, no, that has never been the case. Or it hasn't been the case since, oh God, the 60s?
Would it take something like a constitutional convention, or could any president?
I mean, I genuinely think it would it would probably need an amendment, just because even if you pass that into law, I guarantee you someone's suing.
Yeah, true.
So we'll see.
No, but like stuff, it just seems so wrong. Like it totally pollutes. Like you have these like 1,000-page. But remember the Obamacare thing where it's like you have to like pass it to read it. Like it's
yes.
It's ridiculous. Like no human has, like not even with an army of staffers can one politician read a 3 to 1,000-page bill in a matter of a few days. It's impossible. It's like I don't know, man. It's just, it's disgusting. But no, but that's what I mean. It was basically a way to sabotage the Republican anti-immigration line about the border. Oh, Reagan tried doing bill reform? I didn't know that. Headless pragmatist. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that Reagan was good on campaigning, and then in practice, not so much.
Just didn't happen, yeah.
Well, but, also the big problem about like Reagan too, if you wanted to like do some history here, is that like you had two different camps. You had neocons and the new right of the 80s. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, Reagan gets elected. Who's going to get the jobs? And we kind of know who won that battle. It was the neocons.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Buchanan talks about this a lot in his books about where the right went wrong.
Yeah. No, but then Kamala said that, you know, Trump is always attacking people and have a vision for the future, even though she can't like really enumerate it. But like, I hate to say it, like there is a legitimate critique of Trump in that he has, because of events around him, been forced to take on a purely like reactive standpoint. That he, like the Trump of 2024 is, I hate to say it, different than 2016.
He's far more reactive.
Yeah.
Whereas in 2016 and even in 2020, it was a more
created. Yeah.
Well, because he was tweeting like all the time, so it was just, you know, oh, I don't have to react. The news will respond to me, which that Trump was good for that purpose, because I am here to explicitly tell the left to go screw themselves.
Yeah.
You know, fake news, fake election, like that stuff. We don't really see that as much anymore, although Trump is slowly kind of coming back to Twitter, which is a good thing. But
yeah, that Twitter space was terrible. It was like crypto bros.
Oh, I know. I saw a little bit of it. I saw a little bit of it, and I was like, oh, this is awful.
Yeah. Oh, there's one thing that Don Trump Jr. tweeted apparently Kamala during the debate, she said that J6 was the worst attack on America since the Civil War. And he's like, well, this debate happens a few days after 9/11.
Yeah.
Like it's like what was the Joe Biden quote? Like Seville was like 10 9/11s and J6 was like 20 9/11.
I like how we're doing just 9/11 math over dead Americans versus
9/11 math. Yeah.
It's so awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. What else is in the news?
Yeah, I didn't really. Well, I figured that this was going to be a news-heavy show, but there's so, and again, especially around elections, the timeline of events just bleeds, and your perception of time, again, and I've talked about it a lot on this show, is just like, oh boy, if you thought you had a pretty good grip on reality, you better buckle up because you probably don't. You know. And clearly, in these cases, again, it's just the fact is that we do live in two widely different epistemic frames where we're going to perceive time totally differently. Like for these people, since Trump went down the elevators in 2015, it has been nothing but this like really terrifying, American fascist hellscape. Whereas it's like, well, no, Trump, in terms of the long term of things, like his legacy will probably live long after him in regards to having like a FU to the establishment kind of idealism, but really like he's not going to be here for forever. And you guys are sort of like Democrats are in the same way the Tories are. Like they are kind of the nominative party of government. Yeah. And they have been for quite some time. And they probably will be long after we're dead. Barring any major change, although there's been some political realignment, but even then, like the demographic issues kind of like nullify that writ large. So it's like, okay, well, what happens next? And it's like, that's a big, I don't know kind of question. But again, like how's the time understanding of time going? Well, on one hand, it's, there's something new happening all the time to where people engage in that Marshall McLuhan kind of auto amputation of nothing ever happens. Because you don't have to react to everything the news tells you. And I also like it when we don't do like purely news shows because I don't have to talk about it because I don't try and follow the news very closely either. And then you think about what the average person considers to be news. And it's probably like the 3 or 4 headlines that they see on like their MSN homepage on their work computer or like the Now This News. And so it's just like, oh, people live in an environment that is totally catered to schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And that's it. There is no other alternative. It's just schizophrenia or it's just slop. But remember, kids,
man.
you can go read Honor Levy's My First Book.
Yeah.
That I don't endorse.
But it is quite good.
I'm just giving you a tough time. But I'm never going to read it.
It's great. Yeah, okay, do you know the clever references of the image of the stream and the title of the stream? Okay. So the image of this stream comes from, of course, the Garden of Earthly Delights, the Hell Phase by Hieronymus Bosch. I always was intrigued. They call him the Tree Man. And in the Tree Man, in the posterior cavity of the Tree Man, is like this devil's bar where these like demons are drinking beer. But then on the side, and there's like this guy climbing the ladder that's got an arrow in him. But on the side is like this guy who's looking down at hell and he's half drunk and he's like got this like apathetic look on his face. He's like, oh, well, things are bad. And of course, the title of the stream comes from a lyric from the band Nevermore, waiting for the world to end, but it never ends. So yeah, there you go. I thought those were very fitting references little Easter eggs I like to drop on the stream. Anyways.
What have you been up to, Gio?
Well, I did that whole big thing about oh god, I can't even think now. I have to go get a bottle of water. I did that big thing about Cezanne on Content Minded, and I probably could do 10 straight hours on that painting. I could do like a Martyr Maid-esque episode. I know people have analyzed that painting to death over the centuries, but I'd probably do like a Martyr Maid length episode on that painting. But anyways, yeah, so I did that. It's on, the full thing is on my Patreon. I've been interviewing people for Content Minded, and hopefully I can get one out this week. And I've been busy with artwork and stuff like that. So yeah, what have you been doing?
Well, other than recovering from a pretty bad cold, I am recording. Well, we've got another sort of meme review discourse corner episode out, and Cap and I talked about Elon's recent reversion back to using a 1911 for the gun emoji. We talked about memes. We talked about John Waters movies, which we know way too much about. I'm doing, of course, I mentioned earlier, like the book review stuff with Thomas Moynihan's Spinal Catastrophism. Dimes is joining me live this Friday evening. And then I've just been writing some stuff and trying to send a video game piece over to Align over at the Blaze. And then also, now that it's finally published in physical print, if you do buy the Blaze's first edition of the Frontier magazine, yours truly is in there. I have an article.
Which magazine?
The Frontier, I think is what it's called. Frontier magazine from the Blaze. Their first edition is out. And yours truly is featured in it. And I talk about in comparison, I saw the front cover of it and I saw it was on it. And I was like, damn, they asked me to write about fucking video games.
Yeah.
But I have an article about video games and the economy in there if you're interested. So I would recommend it.
It wasn't about the 10th anniversary of Gamergate?
No, it was about marketing. Well, actually, no, it was about the economy of it and talking about like the cycle of big publishers in comparison to what's the word I'm going for? Like you have the cycle of like big publishers and
AAA
games like getting so bad, and then they have a bubble that pops, and then developers leave, they form their own studios, and then they become their own thing, and so that's just sort of what I talk about in there.
Yeah. Man, but Caravaggio, that already happened. God talking about art would be pretty sweet. Yeah, he came on Content Minded. And he came on this show.
Oh, and apparently Night Owls is happening right now.
Oh, God! Those bastards!
I know.
They knew we were streaming.
Well, that's not going to stop them.
Are we crushing them right now?
We do have more Twitter listeners than them right now, yes.
Thank God.
And so do the good old boys. They're beating them
I'm
as
not
well.
paying $8 a month. I only charge $5 a month.
You do know that that there are certain lovely people who record it for free and put it on Rumble.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to financially, because that's the thing. Who gets that money? Is it just Nightmare Vision or is it Moldovan? Is it split evenly? What's the arrangement?
I guess it's split evenly like we do it. I don't know.
Well, you and I do it differently because they have one Substack. We have 2 YouTube channels, so our money gets split. I keep mine. You keep yours. And that's a great arrangement.
Yeah.
Because we don't ever have to fight about money, which is fantastic. Because I feel like in light of previous podcasts that some associates of ours have been associated with, this is a much more profitable arrangement. But
I love how like a lot
of can we give Nightmare Vision money?
Maybe.
I have a favorite, and it's obviously him. I like the owl. I don't like the Morrissey character.
Well, like it's funny how in some ways, like there's been a number of buddy podcasts that have in the sector that have gone by the wayside. It's like really Night Owls is their only competition now. So it's very fun, very strange. Anyways, let's
rally
let's
towards
go to the super chats.
Yeah.
Okay, so Caravaggio has paid me. I'm seeing on PayPal, he has paid me the money, the fee of $100 to review the 2000 film
You
Sexy
should be so
Beast.
excited.
Oh my God. It actually does look like an interesting film. So thank you, Caravaggio, for $100. Okay, let's go to the entropy first. Where is it? Okay, like get rid of my coal report tabs. So, oh my god, I have another one. Okay, well, I'll say that. So, our good friend Deep Purple Leather Gloves, who goes by a different name on YouTube, he's been following me for a long time. What's his name? Johnny, with the pine tree. Oh, I'm so embarrassed right now. I can't believe I forgot his YouTube name. He follows both of us.
With the pine tree.
Not the pine tree, the coconut tree.
Oh, you mean Jacob?
Jacob, yeah, Jacob. He's from Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jacob. So Jacob for $20 on entropy. Sorry, a pine tree. I got confused. It's like, listen, after it's like it's humid here. I don't know why. It should be the fall soon. I did my chest today, and so my brain is kind of melting. Anyways, so for $20 US, he said super chat. Thank you, Jacob. And Sean Schaefer says Kamala X Chris Chan. I gotta look at that Chris Chan stream if it's any good, but it's probably terrible.
Can we get? I feel like of all the things that we could meme for the 2024 election, a Kamala Harris Twitter space or live stream, where it's Kamala Harris talking to Chris Chan. Of all the things we could meme into reality, I feel like that's one of them.
Yeah. Well, it's true. Apparently, the Leafs are playing the Senators and the Devils in the preseason games. But anyways, so Sam153 for $10. Sneed and such. Thank you, Sam153. And yeah, I haven't seen where the Missouri lore yet. I don't know. By Seneca, but I'm sure Seneca, I don't know, maybe he's busy tonight. Anyways, Owen Zaleski, our good friend, for $5. Hello, gents. I hope you guys are well. All this talk about art makes me excited that my art is being featured as the cover of the English translation of Antonio Salazar's How to Raise a State. Whoa! Holy crap! By Agitator Press. Thank you and God bless. Whoa!
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Owen Zaleski. Salazar was like really big back in like 2017 among like trad caths that wanted to be fascist, but they didn't want to worship the Austrian painter. It's like, I don't like the Austrian painter. I like Salazar. But Salazar was generally a trailblazing leader, though. What do you have any hot takes on Salazar, Prude?
No, but I'm looking forward to the English translation. I will buy a copy.
Yeah. All right, and this is, and he promised me he was going to do this because for book reviews it's more expensive because I've been spending a lot of time reading A Canticle for Leibowitz.
Good.
So yeah, I'm almost done with the last part, the Thea Lux, it's called. Yeah,
it's a great book.
Yeah, it's great. Do all 3 chapters end with the guy getting redacted by an arrow?
Just get to the end.
Okay. Charlie Mackey for $100. Woo! Evening, gents. Gio, here is the other 100 you said I owed you for Canticle for Leibowitz. Hope you both doing well. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to do like a 3-hour podcast on Canticle for Leibowitz. Hope you're both doing well. On a completely unrelated note, do either of you have any thoughts on the impact AI-generated material could have on intellectual property rights? You know what's crazy is that for content-minded, I recently interviewed my good friend, the animation critic Spum Donor, who used to go by John K. Respecter, and we actually talk about the how we're pro AI images destroying the animation industry, and so we actually do talk about that. But do you have any hot takes on? It's kind of passe, the AI art thing, but like now Grok is apparently less censorious.
Well,
than the other AI ones, yeah.
As we saw with the whole, Haitian stuff, like you can have AI be, it's like Trump memes all over again, it's the 2016 energy is happening all over again. This time it's got some AI edited art and things like that. I mean, there's some popularity. Like, you can use it. It's not for me. I don't know. I mean, I don't use it enough to really say I'm against it. But I think for like existing IPs, like, why not? You know, I mean, there are a couple of games that have already done this. I know Stasis Bone Totem has used a little bit of it for their artwork and things like that. But I think that as that stuff continues to get better, I think that you'll have a lot of opportunities to make some interesting things, especially in an age where most IPs are going to be cannibalized for all sorts of fake and gay nonsense.
Yeah.
So
no, and the thing is, though, like copyrights, I'm like, I believe that copyright shouldn't exist, in my opinion. I thoroughly believe this. It's an antiquated model. For the internet age, it doesn't make any sense. It's sort of, it's as antiquated as charting the top selling bands by record sales. It's like that level of antiquated. And I think
that there's some copyright that should obviously exist. I think that the current level it exists with certain author, like the whole
remixing,
the continuous exemption for certain intellectual property. But at the same time, as we've noticed with IPs that have been recently brought into public domain, like Winnie the Pooh, what did we get? We got really shitty, schlocky slasher film type deal.
Yeah.
So not really impressed, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing, though. I do have I do think AI is pretty much just slop, and it's like immediate gratification.
It's pretty recognizable for the time being.
Yeah, and it's recognizable, but also it just produces evanescent images that don't really matter besides memes. But like, I think like the people that have this like weirdo, like especially like these like Zoomer like Twitter leftists that have like these like these art Twitter people that are like talking about how they're going to be replaced or whatever. Like, well, first of all, like this is what Spumdonor said on the show. He goes like, these people are human AI generators to begin with. They create characters and recolors that basically are the same. That you like, they're derivative of the typical like Beanmouth, Pendleton Ward style, Rebecca Sugar,
or Cat Arts nonsense.
Or like now it's Viz Pop, which is different, but still like there's a million imitators. So these people, they're human AI generators to begin with. I mean, so in a way, I think like it used to be like a left, like a Silicon Valley utopian, like a leftist thing. The left side of Silicon Valley, where they said that IP was antiquated and that we live in like this net neutrality post IP world.
Remember the Pirate Party?
Yeah. It was a total thing, and now it's like it seems that the right wing position is anti-copyright because of course AI slop it does disrupt things to an extent, but I'm not pro AI slop. I think it's bad, but at the same time it does generate some funny memes. And if it can if it can dick over the terrible, uncreative people with Wacom tablets that don't actually create anything original, then it's like what Spumder was saying. Is like, wow, oh my god, I'm forced to be creative now. Like, I'm forced to make. He was like, why don't you make something that AI can't replicate? What about that? Like, oh boy, yeah. Imitation's the sincerest form of slobbering. You have to tweet that, Volpe. You have to tweet that. That's incredible. I love that one. But anyways, thank you so much, Charlie Mackey. I have another one from Owen Zaleski for $5. Hey guys, another chat here. I'm also working on some art for my brother's story that will be featured on Man's World. Look out for that too. Nice. Also, you guys should do a DA stream where you both paint side by side. Painting with Prude and Gio. Well, I mean, our painting process is different though. Like Prude is a very like he's got to adhere to strict rules and everything.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind trying to do that. I mean, I've got a couple of some.
I used to do that with Lev.
Sketched on boards, so I mean, I could do that.
Yeah, we could do that one time.
Because I actually have a sort of, it's not, I guess it's like a step-by-step kind of instructional one to do the Archangel Gabriel. I could do that one and just follow along with the instructions to paint side by side to sort of show people what it's like. But I'd have to get some better camera equipment so I can stream and do that. But I wouldn't be opposed. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. Using the AR to destroy the purple-haired MB kids is a Faustian bargain, Gio. Yeah, that's true.
That is true. That is very true.
It's a good counter argument. But anyways, let's go to the YouTube supers. Hopefully there's some that I can read and not have total expletives. Our good friend Lou Templar for $10. Here's a pity chat. The poll methodologies are garbage. They're polling their own newspaper subscribers and forums online. Garbage method, garbage result. Yeah, garbage in, garbage out. That's very true. That's why you can't just trust polls. Like, if you're like a Nate Silver election predictor, like, your days are numbered. You have less than a few months. It's over for you. And I don't know. I just think that polls are cooked. But put it this way. In a few months from now, I'm going to maintain my prediction that whoever's going to win will win by a razor-thin margin, and there will be no like total landslide either way. That's my prediction. That's the only prediction I'm pretty confident in. As for Trump winning, I have faith, but I don't. It's a toss-up, to put it that way.
Yeah.
I know. Listen. I'm going to get the text message from Mystery Grove that says, "You're a traitor. You betrayed Donald Trump." I love that meme. I love when Mystery Grove posts that meme.
Well, because it's like literally the same kind of campaign email style.
Yeah.
I get those all the time. It's like, do you stand with our president? Because it's like, you can replace president with like dear leader. It's more or less the same shit. It's like, you've betrayed our glorious leader. And I'm like, oh no, I feel like garbage. I've betrayed my president. Oh no, I must commit seppuku. But like at the same time, I'm like, I'm not. I do not black pill on Maine, but I will simply tell everybody who is listening, please, for the love of God, prepare for the worst.
Brace yourselves, yeah.
Because it can get worse.
It can get,
It can get so much worse.
That's what I would say. Although, as a Leaf, though, I shouldn't talk because I already live in the worst, and
it can get worse.
It can get worse, yeah. So, Trudeau could win again. Anyways,
more Indians can move.
Yeah. Oh God. Cato for $4.99. Halo 2. Was there people debating over Halo 2?
Or is this? Wait. Is this Hathios or Hathios on Twitter?
No, that's not Hathios. No, Hathios has his name on YouTube.
No, he doesn't. He has a different name than he does on Twitter.
No, I see him on YouTube. Really?
I'm pretty sure. Anyways, is the super chat just saying Halo 2?
Yeah. Look, it's on the screen. It's on the screen. Halo 2.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I mean,
objectively the best one. What's better, Halo Reach?
No, Reach has so many problems. 2 has the best writing, but it's not my out of the original Bungie trilogy. I would say CE is the best.
Yeah, that's fair.
2 is great for writing. It expands, and it's probably 2 has probably one of the best multiplayers ever. Although I think 3 has the best MP. 1 is the worst. 2 and 3 are pretty damn close, but I think 3 just has the better weapon sandbox. 2 has the best writing. I think it is. You can feel how rushed it is. I mean, CE is rushed in a lot of ways, and you can feel that too in the latter half of the campaign. But I don't know. If I were to rank them, I think it would be 1, 3, and 2 is my order of the original trilogy.
Well, I think that like the first one can't be like bad because the first one like sets the stage for everything, right? So
yes, but also video game franchise, a lot of things that you can criticize, like the reuse of assets, which sort of becomes sort of a bog standard Halo thing in the future. Although Halo 2 does not do this nearly as much as 3 or CE, especially. Reach does it a lot as an homage to CE, but it also makes narrative sense. Damn it! If we're gonna do this, just someone pay me $100 and I will do a fucking like 3-hour Halo rant for people.
No, but there is like it's kind of like Call of Duty 1, like Modern Warfare is nothing compared to Modern Warfare 2. Like Modern Warfare 2 is such like an iconic millennial nostalgia thing that
Oh yeah.
yeah, and it really was an amazing. I mean, I played hours and hours and hours of
Same.
Modern Warfare 2, yeah.
Same.
I remember those lobbies. Yeah.
They can never take away how many times you said the N-word on a 360. They can never take that away from you.
Oh man. Son of Haster for $10. Sneeded, snowed, if you will. That's a good. I like that one. Snowed, if you will. And Penultimo for $2. Can we get a Geo art stream someday, Bob Ross style? Well, I did used to do them, but I should go back to doing them.
You should do a Bob Ross style.
Yeah, I should. And our good friend Dawn Browning, one of our female listeners, we actually have them, folks.
We do.
Believe it or not. For $20.
We are a cozy show for right-wing married women.
Yeah, we have a few. For $20, super sticker. What I have to go to YouTube to actually view the sticker. I wonder what sticker she sent me. Can someone in the chat tell me what sticker she sent me? Anyways, thank you, Don, our good friend. And yeah, I'm curious to see the sticker. And Bolero 393 for $2. Woo! In the house. Woo! In this house, A. Jackson is a hero. End of A.Y. Jackson? You mean the Canadian painter, or A. Jackson?
I think he means Andrew Jackson.
Oh, Andrew Jackson. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, they try to paint him as a G-word either because of the indigenous people, but
things that happened already after he was, oh well.
Yeah. Anyways,
if you want a fun time, go look up. It's libtarded as all can be, but go look up Bloody Andrew Jackson, like an off-Broadway kind of like rock musical that was going on kind of around the same time when Hamilton got big.
Oh man!
If you want to trip, go enjoy that.
That's kind of like the animation in remember like Nightmare Vision pointed that out, Night Owls, the animation in Bowling for Columbine.
Oh yeah.
That's too bad. It was like from 2002 or whatever. Yeah. Bolero $2 for $2. Geo, where can we find base stars to support? Well, there's people around. A good friend, a friend of ours, Merrick. He's helping organize this art gallery in January in California that I'm probably going to be a part of, and I believe Micah Paul is also helping organize.
Yes, Micah Paul will be there.
Yeah. So
along with several other friends.
Yeah, we'll give you more details as the event approaches. But there's a bunch of other places too. So there's friends of mine. I don't know if you have enough money to buy like an original Femme de Villiers statue, but anyways, there's always artists that I share on Twitter, and yeah. So, and here you go, another Bolero 393 for $5. Olga of Kiev, not Kiev, would make a great heroine, but it's 2024. She's a Russian and honors her dead husband with vengeance in a legit feminine way. Well, I believe that they tried to claim that, like, they did this thing in 2022 when the war started, where like all Russian heroes are actually just Ukrainian. So I believe that they like tried to claim that Olga of Kiev was actually Ukrainian instead of Russian. I mean, was she Ukrainian?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I mean,
yeah.
At the time of her life story and her saintly life, I'm sure that you're going to get an interesting question about the Kievan Rus and things like that. But I mean, I do agree that she's a great heroine story in the same way that the Greek tragedies and the Greek classics of like being so virtuous to honor your husband or to honor your family or your brothers, to bury them appropriately, as is your custom. And I mean, with Saint Olga of Kiev, right? Like it's another very that's perfectly like heroic femininity at its finest.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get stories like that. You're just not.
They could make a movie on Bodicea, or what's her name, Boudica.
Probably.
They could make a movie.
Would they
about
do
her.
that? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Oh yeah, $5 by Charlie Mackey. For $5, he said, "Don't tempt me with that, prude."
You should, because
Okay.
I could probably do that unscripted, unlike the amount of on and off work I've had to do with that that Cruelty Squad review.
Oh boy.
But
And
Halo,
finally,
I've been playing Halo for like over 20 years, so I can talk about that unscripted. I mean, I might play through all the games once and then just go on like a live stream rant. Actually, you know what, Charlie? Here's what you should do. I know Patrician TV and them did this, but like I'll make a tier list for you. I will do a campaign level tier list and we can talk about it for like 4 hours. I will make that happen.
Oh man, anyways, that's crazy. So Seasider finally, unless people have other stupid chats, for $5. Hey Gio, been browsing through old Vice shows on YouTube. Thoughts on David Chow and his art. Looking forward to the next Core Report. I might actually record a Core Report sooner. I might do it live with somebody. Probably Fentanyl again. David Chow. Was that the graffiti artist? Or
that sounds familiar.
Artist. Oh yeah, I love David Chow. Yeah, he's a great graffiti artist. Like, I mean, he does, like, he created a lot, or rather he sort of helped mold that vibe of like California pop art intersecting with graffiti. But he was very interesting. He was like a street criminal, and then he got arrested in Japan, and then he converted to like born again Christianity. And his art's quite interesting because there was this great video, I believe it's only like 8 minutes long, on YouTube, where they interviewed him in, I believe, 2004. And so it's like a total like millennial nostalgia trip. But yeah, so I like his work. I know a lot of people around these parts hate graffiti for obvious reasons, but like his work's great, you know. So yeah, thank you for the question. I was actually recently watching these documentaries on him. I believe he's also like a noise musician, or he's like a techno musician or something like that too. So yeah. Boudica constantly ran off like Lyra Jenkins. Every one of her victories was just her faction running out and after her to save her. Yeah, but that's good. That's like Resident Evil 4, where like he had to protect that woman, and she like kept getting into trouble. Yeah, you know. Anyways, what do you got coming up, Prude?
Well, I'm live this Friday with Dimes. I'm going to hopefully try and have another Substack essay out this week. And then after that, I'm going to go through my backlog of essays that I've written, because I kind of want to revisit one I did about Elon Musk and that James Blish piece we covered a while ago about science fiction. Because I made a prediction in that, and I said, you know, what's the federal government's going to go after him. And I said, oh, you mean this? Someone had commented kind of smarmily. They said, oh, you mean the same Elon Musk that launches rockets every day? And I said, that will not last. You know, it won't last very long.
Yeah, they could just pull a plug on his permits.
Well, they have been with all these environmental reviews, and I kind of want to revisit it, not as like I told you so, because I'm not that kind of content creator, but I feel the need to revisit it just because, like, oh no, like the Harris administration is gonna go after him. I mean, they already are. And even today, Elon Musk said on Twitter, he says, you know, like, if Harris wins, like, he'll be arrested. And Elon openly said, yeah, she probably will arrest me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so what are you going to fucking do about it? But like...
Yeah, Trump winning's a matter of survival for him, pretty much.
I mean, Trump winning buys everyone more time.
Yeah.
That's really just the bare basics of it. And I wish I knew that when he got elected in 2016.
Yeah, they're going to Dorov Elon, probably.
Yeah, they'll arrest him.
Yeah, who might have to flee or something. I don't know. I mean, he's got enough money to fight it, but it's like, really, why would you want to? It's just, it is what it is. But anyways, so yeah, I'm probably going to come up with another content minded, although I'm recording another one tomorrow with somebody. And I'm going to try to get something done. So yeah, this is it. Next week we're going to probably talk about something different.
Yeah, we might actually we need to do that movie review, the Wildcat one.
Yeah.
Since
All
we were
right.
paid to review that.
Oh man.
So that's what we'll do. I will go download that. Unless, do you have Amazon Prime?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then you can watch it. I don't have to do the Prude goes to the Pirate Bay to explain to Gio old ways to get media. But cool. So we'll watch that, and that's what we'll do. We'll review Wildcat,
All right,
or Wildfire, whatever the movie's called, about that author. So that's what we'll do.
All right. So our brains have been thoroughly melted.
Just a little bit.
As we say, God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.
See you, gents.